Start the, well, we're going to resume our June 23rd Select Board meeting. Our first item on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance, and it's going to be led by our Paul Starrett.
Attention! I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At ease.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Sergeant at Arms.
We're going to move on to our 702 agenda item, which is open forum announcements. And wonders of wonders. Our first item is to congratulate Paul Starrett on his retirement and his 21 years of service with the town of Westford. To start, we have our town manager, who would like to speak a few words.
So thank you everyone for coming. Just wanted to recognize Paul Starrett this evening on his retirement after 21 plus years of dedicated service to the town of Westford. During those 2 decades, Paul has witnessed and helped lead some of the most significant changes in our community, both operationally and from an infrastructure standpoint. As our town engineer, he's guided Westford through a period of tremendous growth and modernization, helping to improve our roads, our drainage systems, sidewalks, pedestrian infrastructure, and overall resiliency while ensuring that projects were completed thoughtfully and responsibly. Many residents know Paul through some of the town's most visible and impactful projects, including Boston Road, which is currently under construction, improvements at Minot's Corner, numerous sidewalk and pedestrian safety initiatives, drainage and culvert improvements, and countless other efforts that have enhanced the safety and quality of life in our community. These projects require far more than engineering expertise. They require patience, communication, the ability to bring people together, which we can see this evening, and collaboration. Paul has worked collaboratively with residents, contractors, consultants, state agencies, boards, committees, and fellow staff members to build consensus and improve important projects forward. This year, Paul's contributions were recognized nationally when he received the American Public Works Association National Professional Manager of the Year Award in Engineering and Technology, one of the highest honors in the public works profession, which is well-deserved in a career defined by leadership, innovation, mentorship, and public service. On a personal note, I want to thank Paul for everything he has taught me over the past 3.5 years that I've been in Westford, not only about civil engineering and infrastructure, but the importance of listening, building relationships, and finding consensus. His professionalism, institutional knowledge, steady guidance, and commitment to doing what's best for Westford have made him an invaluable colleague and a trusted advisor. So I would like to thank you, Paul, for being the town engineer of Westford. Thank you for being a friend and a colleague here, and I wish you the best in your retirement.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the town manager, who has been a great team partner to me, and I'm grateful for that, Kristen. If I may introduce my family who's traveled to visit here this evening. My brother John, who came all the way from Houston to see my daughter. He didn't let me finish the sentence. And my daughter Emily, who is just returned from Albuquerque, where she's finishing up her PhD and will be working this summer with American Heroes at the VA in Jamaica Plain, introducing new addiction treatment therapies. And then finally, my father, Jim Starrett, who is here. My father is a retired building commissioner in the city of Lynn, where he worked for 31 years, and a great inspiration. And in absentia, my late mother, who today is her birthday. And we were just so excited to see that. Mr. Chair, when I was still in high school, my guidance counselor told me I would never be able to do anything technical. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to listen to him, so here I am. And when I first came here 21 years ago, everyone told me I would never, ever put a traffic light in Westford. Well, of course, 8 signals later, and all I heard was, you'll never be able to do it. I wanted to put in a couple of those roundabouts, but no one would tell me I couldn't do it. So, Mr. Chairman, as a duly and truly elected official in the town of Westford, it now becomes your sworn duty to tell me that I will never get my dream job, where I can go to work every day, do all the things I love to do, surrounded by some of the greatest people I've ever known. And at the end of 20 years, get paid to go home. I want to thank my father and my late mother for teaching me to be honest with myself, with everyone around me, all the time, no exceptions. I want to thank Jeremy Downs, who taught me everything I know about being a good engineer. and for putting up with this for 16 and a half years. Thank you, Jeremy, you're the best. And then finally, I will thank my late sister, Debbie, who taught me to be compassionate with all people, regardless of their abilities or their status. Thank you, Deb. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I give you my Declaration of Independence, not from the town of Westford or the many people I've grown to love, but from my many labors. That I'm done. So, thank you, and with that, I leave you to your urgent matters of state.
Congratulations to all the
So
other
Paul,
people.
wonderful speech. Thank you very much. I think the board though has some words for you if you don't mind. No, that was just Kristen. You jumped the gun. I know. So when I met Paul downstairs before the meeting, and I said, "All right, how do you want to work this, Paul?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to speak first." And I'm like, "Well, you are such an eloquent speaker. I'd rather that you go last, and we'll all go first. So I'm going to have Kristen speak, and then the select board will speak." Well, you just saw it. Boom, jumped right over us. But I want to tell.
You go off script. So.
I knew that was going to happen, but really. My time with the town has been almost as long as your time with the town. In fact, one of my first interactions in this community was on the unapproved roads or unaccepted roads subcommittee, which is this little-known committee that had this huge charge to figure out what to do with the 30-odd roads in this community that were not accepted. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that the town wasn't going to take responsibility for basically keeping the roads up. And residents had no idea that this was happening, including me, because I lived on one of these roads. Anyway, short story long, we eventually worked through that issue, but we were left with dozens and dozens of roads that weren't accepted. Huge amounts of paperwork and red tape. This guy and that guy back there worked tirelessly to solve that problem. And I can't tell you how much of a benefit it is to those residents that the town has now accepted those roads and takes responsibility for maintaining them. It was potentially multiple millions of dollars that would have fallen on the backs of residents who had no idea. So that was your first, foray with me, and I was just super impressed with his professionalism. Since then, I've had the opportunity to work with Paul as a member of the Pedestrian Safety Committee. Both again, Paul and Jeremy leading the charge in 2015, getting one of our first sidewalks built on Plain Road. These guys are out there meeting with every abutter. I mean, it was amazing. He and Jeremy were out there doing every little bit of work to get that project done, under budget, on time, and it stood as the capstone, not the capstone, the starting point of a much larger project, which we're now finally getting done, which is great. We now have one of the largest contiguous sidewalks in the town, all the way from the north of town, basically to Stony Brook, as a result of that first step. So my hat's off to you. You've made a wonderful addition to that community as well as the greater part of Westford by making it safer for people to get out there and get to various recreation resources and visit with their friends or get to school all safely without using a car. And as we all know, Boston Road, as well as Rhinos Corner, all these other projects that you don't necessarily see every day, dams, things of that nature, but are so critical to having a livable community. And it's really largely to you, Paul. I can't overstate how much change and benefit you've brought to this community. And I'm just so proud to have had the opportunity to work alongside you, to watch how you are so professional and how giving and how well you listen to our residents. It's really been a very impressive journey for me to watch and be a part of, and I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just want to open up to the select Select Board, if they had any comments? Tom?
Just when people ask me what I like about being a public official in Westford, it's getting to, there is something. It's that I get to see really excellent people who are really good at their jobs, who really care in a way that I think a lot of people who live here never get the opportunity. And a lot of people who I've developed a huge amount of respect for here in this room. But Paul, I had an amazing experience with you, just a little window. We were also trying to get abutters to agree to let us have some construction equipment. And it came down to 1 or 2 people. And Paul was never dismissive. And we had several conversations about it. We had a strategy. We both went up and knocked on the door. Like, he really, really cared about making sure that person was treated with respect and listened to. And ultimately they agreed. And I think it's that little window into that kind of like professional excellence, but just caring, that I think most people in this town don't have a way to appreciate like I do. So thank you for giving me that gift.
Any other words? No.
Yeah, I had my first encounter with you. You came to my house because there was a sidewalk going in front of my house, and there was some discrepancy on whether or not.
Big discrepancy.
Yeah, and you walked the lines with us, braved poison ivy, and you talked to all of our neighbors, and we figured it out, and it was so wonderful working with you. You were just so patient and kind, and you really listened to us, and we were lost a big section of our front yard, but it was so great working with you, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Elizabeth?
And I want to share a memory of, Paul was one of the community readers at the day school when I worked there. And the goal of that week was for students to meet members of the community, and also, when possible, to be able to talk about their role in the community. And Paul was such the engineer. He came ahead of time to make sure he understood the goals of this, and he previewed the books, and he pre-read the book, and then he came in ready, and the 5th grade teacher came down afterwards and just said, that was awesome. We just had to let him go. The kids wanted to keep asking him questions. We just had to cut it off, but it was great.
Well, thank you.
I guess that makes me last.
Yeah.
So when I was on the school committee, someone had reached out to me, and being a public official, you have people come to you with all variety of different problems. And it was about the deer were crossing over a road in town, and they were very concerned about the deer and how fast people were going, and that one of the deers might get clipped. It's like, I'm on the school committee, I have no idea what this goes to. I believe I reached out to Chris, who said, look, put him in touch with Paul. Paul will take good care of him. I put this individual in touch with Paul, and they wrote me this email back about how thankful they were, how patient he was, and how he really took the time to walk them through it and what their options were. And I believe he did come up with a more than adequate solution for something that many people would think either wasn't a problem or would be dismissive of it. So I think that really speaks to his character and the extra effort that he's willing to put in for the everyday resident. So thank you, Paul, and congratulations.
Okay, so because you're dressed up, we're going to grab a picture.
Oh, I hope so.
Let's get up there with this young man.
That would be awesome. That's what I've been doing today, getting this signed by all my coworkers and getting pictures.
So we got a whole bunch of pictures. You have a hand for that too? Or I can help you.
No, come on, you're good.
All good?
Yes.
All right. 250 years, let's go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your vacation.
I'm going to do that. Huzzah!
All right, moving on, we have to congratulate David Earl for his 56 years of volunteer service with the town, serving on at least 11 boards and committees, most recently with the Zoning Board of Appeals for 36 years. Wow, that's impressive. Chris, did you have some remarks?
I do, and Jeff, please feel free to fill in. Unfortunately, Mr. Earl cannot be with us this evening, but he is officially resigning from his volunteer service with the town of Westford. quite remarkable that he was on many, many boards and committees. I won't read them all, but of note, he was on the Finance Committee from 1979 through 1981. He was on the Select Board from 1982 to 1988, and 1 year as chair. And he's resigning from the Zoning Board of Appeals, which he's held a seat since 1991. So we appreciate his volunteerism very much. I think probably one of the longest serving volunteers in the town of Westford. I know many of you have been able to work with him and alongside of him. I just want to wish him a very happy and healthy retirement from volunteer work with the town of Westford. Is there anything you wanted to add, Jeff?
Mr. Earl thought it very important to note that he served on the school closing committee. So that went pretty far back in the records. We had trouble finding it, but he's just a remarkable man. He certainly brought something different to the boards that he served on, very different perspective. And he was just an excellent resource for so many things in town. And we're certainly going to miss him. We'll still see him around, but we'll certainly miss him greatly on the zoning board for sure. So.
All right.
So
Thank you. All right, we also have to congratulate Isaac Bloom, Westford resident and the 2026 Neshoba Tech graduate, on his gold medal for carpentry in the Skills USA Championship. And Elizabeth, I think you have some words for
I
this.
do have a few words. Yes, we've been highlighting a couple of members of our community who are finishing their career, and we have this opportunity to highlight somebody who's just beginning his. Isaac's accomplishment for gold medal at Skills USA, the Nationals, which took place in Atlanta in early June, is notable. His framework, which is like the facade of a barn, highlighted his skills in many aspects of carpentry, and he impressed the judges so much he won gold. There are thousands of students across the country who take part in the Skills USA competition. It was 2008, the last time any Massachusetts student brought home a medal in carpentry from Skills USA, and 1979 since there was last a gold medal brought in by this state. Neshoba Tech really tries to cultivate, these two branches of our students' readiness, the academic, but also the skills. And Isaac, you've really embodied that readiness, whereas you're leaving high school, you're going out into a profession and showing how very skilled you are in carpentry. And it is a pleasure to congratulate you on that. So, round of applause.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations. We just wanted to see you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other announcements from the board? Yes,
I
Noel.
have two things. I wanted to say thank you to the DEI committee and everybody
Yes.
involved in the Juneteenth event and the reading of the Frederick Douglass speech. The Westford Museum, Linda Green, it was lovely. It was very well attended, and I want to thank everyone involved with that. I also wanted to say happy summer to all of our students and to all of our teachers, administration, custodians, anybody involved in the schools. Thank you so much for a wonderful year, and I hope you have a restful summer, and I hope you have a lot of fun. So thank you.
Awesome. Krista, do you have any announcements that you want to cover?
The one thing that I will cover, I don't have all the details right now, but in celebration of the country's 250th birthday in the month of July, the Westford Museum and the town of Westford will be hosting a book that we have here in our archives that has the Declaration of Independence. We will be having it in a case here at Town Hall, and there'll be certain hours where people can come view it and get a tour. So we will be issuing some more information about that in the coming days, but that's an exciting time for the town of Westford, both to have that document in our archives and be able to showcase that for this month.
Absolutely, that's great. Okay. Anything else? Anything from the audience? No. Okay, seeing that, we'll move on to our 7:10 agenda item, which is our consent agenda. So we have a request to approve the following: a banner for the 2026 special town meeting. The applicant is the town of Westford. The date is October 26, 2026. And the location is the First Parish Church. We have a motion in support of that request.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to our 7:12 agenda item, we have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee.
Yeah, we're promoting several members who are online. Is anyone in the audience from the Finance Committee?
Yep, we
Beth
got two
and
there.
Dennis, great.
Should we bring them up?
They're on the
Yeah,
way.
I think
Yeah. No need to ask. Boom. You can sit at the table, Dennis.
Just sit in the front. Where's our chair?
Oh, she's there. All right. Christina, can you hear us?
I can.
I think you've got enough people. Do you want to?
Yep, I will call this meeting of the Finance Committee on June 23rd to order.
Okay. Our first item on the agenda is to vote to approve an increase in the FY 2026 expenditure limit for the East Boston Camp's Maintenance Revolving Fund from $80,000 to $115,000.
Great, so you don't traditionally see these types of items on your agenda. You usually see budget transfers at this time of year, but we are allowed under state law to extend our revolving fund account dollar amounts with a joint vote of the Finance Committee and the Select Board. You have two items on your agenda under this. The first, as you stated, is to increase the expenditure limit for the East Boston Camp's Maintenance Revolving Fund from $80,000 to $115,000. As noted in your memo, there were funds allocated through ARPA and through the revolving fund for the replacement of the septic system at East Boston Camps. Additionally, we are working through some other items to shore up the property and continue the maintenance of that property. So we are asking for a joint vote to approve that increase for this specific revolving fund.
Okay. I guess any questions from the Select Board on that item? Christina, do you want to ask your board if there's any questions?
Sure. Any questions from the Finance Committee? John Fryer?
So I just have one question that relates to both of these items. Are these sort of one-time requests, or, is there going to have to be an increase in subsequent years to cover increasing costs? I mean, particularly, I guess, with relationship to the senior center.
Sure. So we look at our revolving fund expenditures every year, and I believe this year at town meeting we did ask for an increase in certain, I think, 2 individual funds. So we may be coming to town meeting in March with a request to increase the revolving funds, but we would not be coming back for a joint vote for the Select Board and the Finance Committee before town meeting.
All right. So this is just a special one-off kind of thing.
That's correct.
As far as we know.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Kristen.
Any other questions? Kristen, does it matter which board votes first?
No, it doesn't.
Usually we would ask the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, Christina, it's up to you and your committee to go first, it sounds like.
Okay, thank you very much. Could I get a motion to approve the increase as explained?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. I'll do a roll call vote. John Fryer,
Aye.
Nate McKinnon,
Aye.
Shinji,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Beth Morrison,
Aye.
and Dennis Galvin.
Aye.
And I think that's it, right?
6-0.
Okay, so that passes. Thank you.
Do you, Patty, did you get who made the motion, who seconded?
I put Nate McKinnon because I was looking at him, and when 3 of them all said it,
Yeah.
so.
I think we can give it to Nate for the motion and John for the second.
Okay.
We'll switch next one, John.
Works for me.
Thank you.
Very good. Do we have a motion from the Select Board in support of this?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Our second item is to vote to approve an increase in the FY 2026 expenditure limit for the Senior Center Programs Revolving Fund from $65,000 to $75,000. We'll turn that over to you.
Yes, so again,
Context?
same mechanics. Under state law, the Select Board and Finance Committee are allowed to increase the expenditure limit on a revolving fund through a joint vote. We are asking this to be increased from $65,000 to $75,000 as our program costs continue to increase. So that will be able to pay the eligible program expenses from that. And if there's any questions, either Dan or Jennifer or I can answer those.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the select board? Christina?
Any questions from the finance committee?
All right, why
I
don't you,
think
why
we're
don't you,
good.
yeah, go ahead and take the vote when you will. Want.
Okay, John, can I get a motion, please?
So moved, yeah.
Second.
Thank you. And roll call, John Fryer,
Aye.
Nate McKinnon,
Aye.
Shinji,
Aye.
I'm an aye, Beth Morrison,
Aye.
and Dennis Galvin.
Aye.
Thank you, that passes.
And do I have a motion from the select board?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, I think you guys can close out. Christina?
Yep. Could I get a motion to adjourn the finance committee, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, guys. Roll call, John Fryer,
Aye.
Nate McKinnon,
Aye.
Shinji,
Aye.
I'm an aye, Beth,
Aye.
and Dennis.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Finance
you.
Committee. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is a joint meeting with the Health Insurance Trust to discuss options discussed at their June 11th, 2026 meeting. Let them get on board.
Yes, so we have a few members who are joining us online, and in the room, I see Christine and Pam Hicks and Dan O'Donnell. Online, we're promoting Hannah Moeller, Nate McKinnon is staying on, and Jesse Bayer is on as an alternate member, and Sean is the member from the select board.
All right, whenever you're ready to.
Okay, great. So at your June 9th meeting, you discussed health insurance and several items that you wanted the Health Insurance Trust to review and look into further. The Health Insurance Trust met on June 11th to evaluate those items, and I've prepared on their behalf a memo dated June 22nd with where we are now, and we are looking for further direction from the select board this evening. The Health Insurance Trust also has a meeting tomorrow afternoon that will be via Zoom, so anyone who's looking to join that meeting can do so via Zoom, and that will be videoed as well. We can share that tape of the meeting. So the first was to develop multiple cost-saving scenarios within the existing trust. So the first was plan design changes. We are currently underway with our broker on that, and several plan design changes will be presented to the trust tomorrow afternoon. To look at stop-loss modifications, the trust has indicated through their meeting on June 11th that they are amenable to looking into this when we review our renewal in January of 2027. We also have some models that we're reviewing already that were prepared and presented to the trust in an email yesterday. Other operational and structural changes recommended by the consultant. The trust is committed and are reviewing potential changes and recommendations, continuing to evaluate the options. And then any additional strategies the trust believes are appropriate. And the trust looks forward to discussing those with you this evening and in continued conversations. Next was to benchmark Westford against comparable communities. So Westford's benchmark communities were identified in the Lockton report on slide 130, so we can continue to review that. The statutory benchmark plan under Chapter 32B, that information is on page 164 of the Lockton report, and we are reviewing that with HUB tomorrow. And then the broader market competitiveness considerations related to recruitment and retention, the trust is beginning their work on that matter. The next was to show the impact on employees and retirees. And we are currently working on those cohorts with HUB. There was a high-level identification in the Lockton report, and we're digging a little bit deeper into that, and the trust will be reviewing some of those options tomorrow. The next is to evaluate the appropriate trust reserve level. We've asked HUB for their recommendation on that. We are still working on that with HUB, and we'll be discussing that further. And then to identify potential funds available to offset costs. So as previously discussed at the select board meeting and at the trust meeting, the trust was amenable to returning the $950,000 that the town of Westford contributed through town meeting in October of 2023. And if you're still amenable to that, we plan to vote officially on that tomorrow. Additionally, the GLP-1 medications prescribed for weight loss purposes will be removed from the health insurance formulary effective November 1st, 2026, which coincides with the town's annual health insurance renewal date, and we will see about $1.2 million of cost avoidance related to that. And then at the June 11th Health Insurance Trust meeting, HUB indicated that their projected estimate in premium increases for the November 1st, 2026 renewal is a 5% premium increase. We saw 7% last year, so we continue to see that go down. So we see that as a cost avoidance as well. But the trust will continue to receive several months of additional claims and utilization rates before establishing a rate at the middle of September for a November 1st renewal. So with that, we definitely look forward to understanding anything else that the select board would like to see. I know there was some conversation about a July 1st indication date of if you would like us to continue to evaluate plan design changes within the trust or evaluate moving to a GIC model. So again, the trust members are here to discuss that with you tonight, and then we'll bring that back to their meeting tomorrow.
Great, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Just because there is a lot of interest in this topic, for folks who want to be continue to participate, what are the best ways they can find out doing that for the meeting tomorrow, Kristen?
Sure. So on the Health Insurance Trust website, through the Town of Westford's website, our agenda is posted there. The Zoom link is posted there, and the meeting materials are either up there or will be posted shortly.
And I believe we have the recording from the last meeting also available on the town's website?
That is available on the town's
So we
website
can
under the
catch up if
agenda
you haven't
center.
seen it.
That's correct, yes.
Very good. Okay, with that said, any questions, comments from the select board? Tom?
Just gratitude to the Health Insurance Trust for continuing to do all this hard work. Something I think we heard earlier today, Kristen, you can correct me, there had been an understanding, I think, from discussions with Lockton that there was a July 1st like milestone date that we had to make some sort of indication of interest with the GIC about pursuing that. Our understanding is that there is no such requirement. So there is no need for us to take any position on that. We can continue to investigate the options as you just described. So there is no tripwire announcement. We can continue to gather information as you indicated.
Right, just to elaborate on that, so if the town were to move to the GIC, we officially need to file all of the necessary paperwork by December 1st of December 2026 for a July 1st, 2027 renewal. We need to back ourselves into that by having additional analysis conversations and discussions. And if we were to go that way, we do need to negotiate with the Public Employee Committee, which takes approximately 30 days. If we come to an impasse there, that goes to the state level for an arbitration, which could take 30 to 60 days. So we do need to start the process earlier rather than later if we were to make that move to file all of the paperwork. GIC by December 1st.
Yeah, so thank you for clarifying that. I think we understand there's a lot of learning information for us to gather, a lot of discomfort out there amongst the plan participants and the public about making a decision too quickly. So I'm just glad that we aren't forced to make any kind of indicative, even procedural indication before we get more information. So looking forward to getting that information. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing what comes back in the numbers and appreciate the hard work that's already happened.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Kristen, I was hoping you could touch base on this. So one of the things that we've asked the Health Insurance Trust to do is to present us with options, right? Mm-hmm. It seems like those options are in flux and we'll know more after tomorrow. So given that we'll know more after tomorrow, presuming that the broker or the Health Insurance Trust comes back with these options to the select board and they instruct you to implement those, I guess what next steps have to happen and who's involved and What does that look like if we were to implement plan design changes?
So, sure. So if there are plan design changes, I would need to negotiate that with the Public Employee Committee, which consists of all of our union presidents, our non-union employee representative, and our retiree representative. The Public Employee Commission retiree representative has been named, so that is set now. So that's a 30-day negotiation window for that. If we come to an impasse in any way, that goes to a state arbitration.
Okay.
So the process is the same for whether or not we do plan redesigns or decide to move forward with the GIC?
Anything related to any plan design changes, whether it's within our internal trust or the GIC requires that process, that's correct.
So,
Yes.
so to Tom's point, getting as many stakeholders involved in the process as we can as we go along. So there'll be other opportunities as these prospective plan design changes are presented back to us. There'll be other opportunities for employees and other stakeholders to weigh in, is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I did have a question. It's chapter 32B. So if there is a plan redesign and there's savings, we have to pay, or the town somebody has to pay 25% of those savings goes back to the plan participants?
The town has to put up 25% as our mitigation fund. That is correct, yes.
Okay. And where would those funds come from?
From our health, and it cannot come from the trust. I actually confirmed that. It has to come from our general budget.
Got it. Thanks for that clarification. As far as the benchmark plans go, so I guess GIC provides sort of a benchmark plan. I think that's one of the things that was used in the Lockton report. And could you confirm for me, does that plan include deductibles?
Yes.
Okay, so the benchmark plans that we'll be what we'll be getting from the hub consultant should include some plan redesigns that would incorporate deductibles.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure that's clear.
That is one of the options. There are many other options, but yes, that is one of the
I
options.
think we just want to make sure that at least one plan comes through that is close to benchmark,
That's
right,
correct.
which would
Yes.
include deductibles. Okay, perfect. Is there anything from the trust at this point that they want to speak?
I don't know
or-
if any of the trust members have anything else besides the work that we're going to be doing tomorrow.
Okay.
Great.
So the trust feels they have what they need. Select board's pretty clear on the direction. Everybody feels like we're heading in the right way. Okay, great. And I guess we can ask the Health Insurance Trust to adjourn.
Do you want to take comments or questions from the public?
I don't see any, but certainly, yeah, if there's any questions from the public, please come up to the mic. Or is there any online? Thank you,
I
Tom,
don't
for
see any
calling
online.
it up.
John McInerney, 7 Lowell Road. I was just wondering if anybody was named to the retirees side for the IEC.
So the deadline is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We did send a reminder out to the retiree email addresses we have on file if anyone is interested in applying. So I plan to do that later this week or early next week.
Okay, thank you.
And Kristen, that reminded me, so we had done some work to try to reach out to retirees. Are we continuing our efforts to try to enhance our ways of communicating, so trying to gather email addresses and stuff? Okay, and that's
Absolutely.
going pretty well?
Yes.
Okay, great, super. Any other questions from the public, anything online at this point, Kristen?
I think Nate's got a hand.
Oh, Nate, yes.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, Kristen, just for my own edification, I probably should know this. Can you just clarify the difference between the IAC and the, I think it's PEC?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
So the IAC is the Insurance Advisory Committee. It is made up of 8 individuals. Some are union representatives, 1 retiree representative, and 1 non-union representative. They advise me on insurance matters when we are looking at plan design changes or any changes. We also inform them when we are looking at how much of an increase or a decrease our health insurance would be in a particular year. It's always been an increase in my time here. The Public Employee Committee is the board that that I negotiate with to make any plan design changes.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from the boards? Yes.
My name is Jennifer Claro, and I work as the director of the Cameron Senior Center. In the last meeting, I know there was a discussion on the market basket. And I know as a department head, that's always the very first question that we're asked when we're trying to advocate for a salary increase. Is, you know, we have to do a market basket. Will that information be shared? How will that be shared? What is found in the market baskets of other municipalities in comparison to Westford?
So that was part of the locked-in report. They did the market basket comparison, and Hub is doing additional comparisons for us.
Can you give us some feedback on what the comparison is?
So there's 20 different communities, so I'd have to go through each of them individually with you. I'm happy to sit down with you.
I was just wondering, how is that? I mean, not everybody may know about the locked-in report, and it might just be interesting information, especially for employees.
Sure.
And I guess sometimes it just feels like we're not getting information, and it's causing a lot of anxiety. And I just feel like the last meetings I've been going to, I just feel like everything's being kind of passed on, and just feel like we're just being dragged along, and it's really challenging. And I just want you all to know that.
Thank you for that comment. So is the locked-in report available on the website?
It is, and it has been shared with the department heads.
Okay. So Jennifer, just so you know that it is available on the town website, so please pass that information along. And if you have any questions after reviewing it, certainly the town manager or myself will be happy to talk with you. Yes?
Actually, Chris, just on that, is there any way we could create like a digest or like even just send an email directing people to the pages with a link or something, just to make it a little bit easier for people to find just that part?
There is a table of contents at the beginning of the locked-in report, and I believe it calls out the benchmark areas, but we can see what we can do.
Is it mentioned in the executive summary? Because that is a little bit, it's only 11 pages versus 130
I
plus.
don't have it memorized.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. So maybe we could, I assume that's published too? Or
Yes, the executive summary is all on the health,
Okay.
that's all on the health insurance trust website. Yep.
Okay. So maybe we can give a little direction to make it easy to find.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're thinking like just another PDF on the health
It could
insurance
just be like a link to the exact page that covers it. If it just seems like that might be of a lot of interest to people, so we might just do everyone a favor from all through the website and going through the table of contents.
I would add to that, I would say, I think maybe a little context as how that list of communities was derived might be helpful as well, because the report doesn't really speak to that, so.
It's the list of communities we use for our salaries. So,
I get it,
yeah,
but I think
yeah.
that's great context.
Sure.
We know that,
Sure.
but again, I think the public will probably come back with, why did we pick these communities? So if we're putting something together, I would just add that little blurb so people have context. Does that seem okay, Tom?
Yep.
Yeah. Sean?
So, Kristen, for tomorrow's meeting, with the Health Insurance Trust, is Hub going to be presenting on benchmark communities and the like? So
Yes.
they'll be part of their presentation tomorrow, will address this issue? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I would just ask if you do speak to anyone from Hub before then, that would be something of interest. And obviously we've had an employee ask that, so I
We
think
talked
it's
about it at our prep meeting this morning. So
wonderful.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Quick question on the market basket communities. How many are there?
20.
Where do we rank with our insurance with those 20?
So there's many ways that we rank. So there's how much premium people pay. There's the percentage of premium. So
Where would we fall on that list?
it's based upon what you quantify as an item. I don't know what you mean by where do we fall on that
Are
list.
we at the bottom or are we at the top?
Related to the
range?
amount that we pay in premiums, or related to the
Yes.
amount that the town contributes, or related to
Paying
the plans that
premiums.
we have.
Paying premiums.
I'm happy to sit down with you and go through the chart because it's very complicated. It's not like we're number 20 or number 19 or number 5. It has different relations to different items.
And I think that just goes to Chris's point about consolidating this information and getting it out would be very helpful for somebody to understand, because if we're at the bottom of that list, that's that's concerning to anybody that's working on the town. If we're at the top of the list and we're talking plan design changes, we kind of understand that. But to get that information out is, I think, critical for everybody to really understand.
See how we can package it differently. It definitely is in the report, but it may be confusing to people who don't see it every day.
Thank you.
Thank you, good question.
I do have one question. So obviously.
Could you identify
So
yourself, sir?
Obviously, there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of concern with the employees within the police department. I've tried to stay on top of everything, read everything that's out there, even gone through the school committee and previous packets that have been provided. I know that there was a reference to quick interviews that were done with some of the communities that were on GIC that were part of our market basket communities. Do we have any of those kind of quick summaries or interviews with any of the communities that were GIC that have left, and have any comparables to that?
So none of our market basket communities have left the GIC yet.
Okay. How many market basket communities were on the GIC?
8.
8. Okay. And how many of those summaries did we get? We got 8 summaries from those. Well, we got those 8 summaries for those that are on.
I believe I got everyone. I may have
Okay.
not gotten 1 or 2.
I was just curious because I saw that there was towns that are in the GIC, but I also know that there's several towns that left the GIC, and I didn't know if we were going to reach out to any of those communities to see what their challenges were with that program.
I think they were outside of our market basket, but we can certainly look into doing that research.
All right. That's just kind of the questions that I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Clara from the Cameron Senior Center. Just kind of piggybacking on Mark's question. In one of the meetings, I understood that leaving the GIC is extremely difficult. Just wanted to know if that is any concern, and where that plays in the information that we're disseminating and that you'll be deciding on. I just feel like there's just a lot of information that's being shared, and are we all hearing the same thing? I just didn't hear anybody say that, leaving the GIC, we heard, I think even from the consultant, if I'm not correct, I think it was the meeting, we had the very first meeting with employees, that one of the difficult things was trying to get out of the GIC. Is that correct? Does anybody recall that?
So what I heard from the consultant in that meeting was that it's very hard to get data from the GIC to then run an analysis for the town to determine if they can leave or not leave financially.
That, and it's also, the GIC is a 3-year contract, right? Which doesn't give a ton of flexibility, and as has been pointed out, it is a lower cost to most towns that are offering it, so it's more difficult for them to get out of it because it costs more to get out of it. So that was my understanding from the consultant.
Yeah, Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kristen, I just want to clarify something. I don't believe Pat in any of the meetings said it's difficult to get data for the towns in the GIC. In fact, they're statutorily obligated to provide it under state law for municipalities that participate. And I believe what his point was is what Sean just alluded to, which is that the communities that have joined the GIC, and I believe his point was no communities have left the GIC, and that part of the reason that they haven't left the GIC is not that it's regulatorily difficult to do so. In fact, communities have a 3-year commitment, as Sean said. The first year, every 2 years, then have an opportunity to examine whether they want to exit. What's been happening is the cost for those communities to exit would be far too high for them to consider actually doing so, because it is a subsidized program by the state. And because of their funding model, overall, the same funding model that would result ultimately in substantial savings to both the employees and the taxpayers of Westford, according to the Lockheed report, is that the same reason that communities have opted not to get out of it, because it would simply remove that subsidy. So I just wanted to just clarify that.
Thank you, Nate. Yes.
Hi, my name's Christine Dussault. I'm standing here speaking on behalf of all the teachers in town. I also wear the hat on the Health Insurance Trust, but right now I'm just speaking on all the teachers. Obviously, health insurance is very expensive for the town. I think it would be irresponsible not to try to save money, but I would like to make sure that whatever direction the town goes in, it's just not savings for the town. What would the savings look like to our members and to our retirees that are in town before anything happens? And I know, Sean, you spoke to this a lot throughout many recent meetings about getting surveys. I would hate for people's opinions not to be properly captured through the town because right now, the way things are right now, I would assume that the majority of people are very happy with the health insurance they do have. And when it is presented, that it be in simple enough terms and graphics so that the person looking at it could just look at it from their perspective. How much would they save? Because currently, right now, none of our members have any deductibles, and we're concerned that they would end up with the plan design change and then have a very large deductible. So my opinion is no plan change until we fully capture everyone's opinions and everybody that is possibly affected has all the information as easily as possible. I hope I captured that.
Hi, guys, yes.
I'm Judy Ramirez, and I just have a question. I'm a retiree. Is there a mechanism in place to keep us informed? I haven't heard anything.
Sure. So,
Just recently about this.
so if you are not getting emails from us, if you could email me, klass@westfordma.gov, or call the town manager's office, or email Pam Hicks at phicks@westfordma.gov, or call the HR department. If you do have an email address, we're happy to get you on our email list that we're currently using. If you don't have email, please let us know, and we're happy to get information out another way.
What about the rest of the retirees? Are they, I'm not speaking for anybody.
Absolutely. So we're doing our best to try to get all of the information we can for our retirees through Middlesex Retirement and the other retirement system. We do one mailing a year, which occurs during open enrollment, which I know would be too late if we were to make any changes this year. So we would be working with those retirement organizations to get the word out as well.
Can I just ask why we haven't been notified up until now? Or why there hasn't been much? I haven't heard anything.
So we're doing our best to collect the retiree data. We have not done a mailing. I don't want to say that because postage is expensive is a good excuse, because it's not a good excuse. So we're trying to get the word out as best as we can right now.
Thank you for the question. I'm sorry, so can you come up to the mic? We all know who you are, but it's easier for people to hear you.
Pam Hicks, Director of Human Resources. I was actually wondering if people could contact their retirement systems, MTRS and Middlesex, because that is where we're getting the emails from. This is brand new. They've never shared them with us before. We now have access to them, so this is all brand new, being able to email. So if people can contact their retirement systems, give them their email addresses, and then we can access them from there, that would be very helpful.
Great, thank you, Pam. Yes, Tom.
So just to follow up on Nate, the meeting that we were at, I forget, was Patrick? Patrick did say that it was difficult to get out of the GIC, and he used the example of several South Shore communities trying to get out but couldn't get out. So that is in conflict of what we heard initially. And the other point that I did want to make is we are, is it still 65-35 for contributions?
For one of the plans for, and then the PPO is 60-30.
Okay, so
Excuse me,
for
60-40.
contributions, I think this would be really helpful. Where do we fall in the rankings out of the 20?
In terms of percentage contributions?
Yeah,
The last time I reviewed it, I think we were in the lower tier.
so we're at the bottom.
I would say lower tier.
Tom?
Yeah, so I guess, I think what we've heard is that directing people to the Lockton report is not satisfying. And so there will be a future public meeting where we'll have all the information to look at the plans. So I think we've heard a couple things. One is that we'd like kind of a full look at the benchmark because there is the percentage paid, there's the cost to the town, there's the cost to the employee, there's the service level. So we need to find a way to make that simple as we can, so people can see what the benchmark is that we're working with.
Yeah, I'd specifically find it helpful if I find out, you say lower tier, I want to know where we are. Are we 19,
I just don't have,
20?
it's in one of the reports, I don't have it in front of me, so I can pull it
Tomorrow,
up.
we have that?
Well, I guess, Tom, to your point, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, please go ahead.
But I think
That's the information that.
Yeah, I understand the urgency, and I understand, I think, what you're looking for. So I think as we arc towards a place where we're actually looking at the data and making decisions, very clear understanding of the benchmark and sort of where the towns came from, understanding of how the plan designs are different. We should just be keeping sort of a running list of things that we can make very simple and that we get that deck out to people well in advance of the meeting so they have a chance to go through it and understand it.
I appreciate that.
So if there's sort of a table of content, maybe we can just sort of build a table of contents of what should be in the slide deck.
To be clear, this is what we've asked the Health Insurance Trust to give us, right? Through the broker. So hopefully we'll have some of this information, but to Tom's point, like, we have to do a more effective job of having it in a place that's easily accessible by our employees. So I completely concur. And just to, Chief, I think you raised a really good point. Like, this is not, it's not easy to say what's a good plan and what's a bad plan. Like, we first have to figure out what do we value as a community, right? Because there are multiple kind of things being thrown into the stew, which is what percentage is the town paying, right? What percentage is the overall premium? What percentage, or sorry, what are the copays? What are the deductibles? Because in theory, you could have a plan that has a far lower premium that is cheaper for the employee that has a deductible. And I think that's kind of getting lost in the mix, and that's the whole point of this exercise, is to look at our plan and to say, hey, is this really the best plan possible? And if it has the ancillary effect of saving us money in the long run too, well, that's a win-win, right? We don't have that information yet, and that's the type of information that I would be wanting to hear back from the broker and from the Health Insurance Trust. So,
okay, so what we're landing on, it sounds like, is maybe a table of contents or frequently asked questions, something to basically provide more guidance to people in terms of how to find the information, some clear metrics that we can use to compare us against our market basket communities, whether it's contribution mix or premiums, maybe pick 4, and see if we can get that out of our health insurance trust consultants and have that available at some point. And then obviously we're going to get some more information as a result of this meeting tomorrow, so I encourage everybody to, participate in that, ask questions there. I'm going to take one more question, so why don't you go ahead and let us know what you have.
Nina Megan, Westview Drive, a retiree. You pretty much summed it up, so I won't go into that, but today, just learning about that, this is going on, I went online. It's difficult, our website, it's very difficult to find information. So, and it's difficult, you don't have everyone's email, so not everyone's getting the information. So I stress the importance of making it very easy, as was suggested. Put something on the front of the website to go directly to where the information is. I couldn't find this report today. So I don't think we should be having to dig, and you've said a couple of times here today, well, you can come see me and I'll walk you through it. Well, that's impossible for all of us to see you and walk you and for you to walk us through it. So the information is very important. I also just want to stress a little bit that I did see it mentioned that there's a lack of mental health support in GIC, which surprises me that the town would even be considering that. Working for the town, I know how much effort has gone into and the importance of mental health, and to eliminate that for your employees and your retirees is very frightening to me, and I hope that you'll take that into consideration.
Thank you. Why don't we put that as another action item to investigate? Okay, in the interest of keeping us somewhat on track, I'm going to stop the conversations for this evening. It was a lot of great feedback. We welcome more feedback. So again, this is something that anybody can reach out to me. My name is Chris Barrett. I'm on the town website, cbarrett@westfordma.gov. Happy to take your questions, as is the town manager. And we urge you to continue to participate in these public discourses that are going to continue throughout the rest of the next month or so. And I believe this board is also going to put together a summary memo of where we are today and where we might be heading in the future. And we're going to try and get that out to all the employees, the retirees, and the public, of course. So thank you very much for your feedback and participation this evening. Does the trust need to adjourn formally?
Yeah, we can adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn from the trust?
So moved.
Nate moved, second. Christine seconded. Nate?
Aye.
Christine? Hannah?
I'll be Hannah. Aye.
I'm an aye. Sean?
Aye.
Did it, Pam? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our 7:40 agenda item, which is to review and act upon an act authorizing municipalities to opt into a temporary pilot. I'm going to wait for a second until the room quiets.
Might have to use that gavel.
Yeah. I don't think we're quite at that level yet.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Beth. All right, we're going to try that again. Moving on to our 7:40 agenda item, which is a review and act upon an act authorizing municipalities to opt in to a temporary pilot to extend the hours of liquor licenses and to allow for public consumption in designated districts in the summer of 2026. I believe we have the chief here to speak to this.
I'll start and then the chief can weigh in. So on June 8th, the governor signed the act authorizing municipalities to opt into a temporary pilot to extend the hours of liquor licenses and to also allow for public consumption in designated districts in the summer of 2026. This really stems from the World Cup coming to America and coming specifically to Massachusetts. I wanted to bring this question to the board this evening for consideration, but also got a recommendation from the chief, town clerk, and the fire chief. It is not likely that the town of Westford would have watch parties or any public events related to the World Cup that we are currently aware of. We're currently about in the middle of the World Cup season. Also, it's generally not customary that our establishments are looking to stay open until 3 a.m. to serve beverages, but we wanted to get the opinion of the board. And with that, I'll turn it over to the chief just for his opinion, and then we can have a discussion of what the board would like to do.
Thank you, chief.
So shortly after I heard about Governor Healy's announcement on this, Kristen had reached out and asked for our opinion. I touched base with both Lori Shaw, the town clerk, and Chief Dennehy, the fire chief, on their feelings on this as well. And as Kristen said, I think that the potential impacts to the community far outweigh, negative impacts far outweigh any potential benefits, however small they may, or however large they may be to some of our local businesses. Most of our establishments within the community stop serving alcohol anywhere between 10 and midnight, depending on what it is. At the time that I wrote this, or that we authored this letter to the select board and to Kristen, we were not aware of any watch parties being planned. I was approached by somebody a little bit right prior to the meeting about maybe Soul Kitchen wishing to do watch parties, and I would encourage them to do that. However, I would be strongly against extending the alcohol service until 3 a.m. Even though the Route 110 corridor is a commercially zoned area, that the plaza, particularly with Soul Kitchen, backs up against a residential area, and I think that having these types of events go to 3 a.m. is much more suitable to densely populated urban areas, and not our community. So it comes down to what I think would be best for public safety in our community, and I think that it's going to place too much of a burden on our officers, our town staff, and fire personnel.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Chief. Any thoughts, comments from the board? Yeah.
I was going to say, I would tend to agree. Is there an action required, or we just decide not to?
You could just decide not to vote to adopt this opt-in item.
Okay. Sean? Do you have a question?
Chief, nothing about this would prevent an establishment from having a watch party. It's just serving alcohol until 3 a.m.
Correct. Well, so it would extend the hours of operation. So depending on what their business license states and what their liquor license allows for currently, they would be held to that. So I think we do have some liquor licenses that may close as late as 1 a.m. However, the establishments choose not to stay open that late. But if that's what their license states, they're well within their rights to extend their hours in accordance with what they're licensed for, to accommodate these watch parties and games that they might have. However, anything after 1 a.m., this would be if we opt into this, it allows any establishment to petition to extend their hours till 3 a.m. I think 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night for a watch party for Ghana, England, although that game was really boring today. Something like that could have major impacts in our community. So, yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions? So it seems like we don't need a motion necessarily. Just don't take any action.
You don't have to take any action.
All right. Is there any desire from board members to take action? Seeing, I think the consensus is we're not going to take action on this. Chief, thank you very much for coming this evening and writing the memo and providing this feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. I wouldn't have missed Paul in his little outfit to get the pin.
It's a treat.
All right, we're going to move on to our 7:45 agenda item, which is presentation of the draft Route 40 corridor study.
So we are going to promote our consultant, and I'd just like to give Jeff Morissette, our Assistant Town Manager of Land Use and Economic Development, an opportunity. This starts our land use section of the agenda, so I will turn it over to him.
Well, I think in our town planner, Joe Jenowitz, is here also. We're really here to answer any questions you might have that we could answer that our consultant might not be in a position to explain. I think as part of Emily's presentation, she might give a brief introduction to this, so I don't want to take away from her allotted time here. So turn it over to Emily, that would be great.
Very good.
And are any members from the Route 40 corridor study present? I just wanted to make sure we're recognizing
There may be some, but not a quorum.
I see Ming is online.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we recognize them and thank them for their work on this study. Go ahead, Emily.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to join you all. Apologize, I think I hit the share a little bit too early. I was just making sure I had the access. So I'm going to take you very quickly through the highest level of the plan, and then delighted to help answer any questions that you may have. I will just say that on behalf of all of us at NS, RKG, and TEC, we have been thrilled to work with the town and with the members of the working group. It's been a real pleasure. So this study of the Route 40 corridor really came out of rezoning attempts in 2022 and 2023. Town meeting passed a resolution to study this corridor. One of the things that really came out is that people were concerned that zoning changes or the study might change the corridor. We want to make it clear that there's development happening in this corridor already. So that is a concern that exercised town meeting and had them think about this. And so our goal in assisting the town with this project was to really work on a planning process that could help the town guide future land use, design, and infrastructure decisions along Route 40. You can see the study area here. This plan really sets up a shared vision and a policy framework, and the implementation plan suggests some next steps, some of which are potential future zoning changes, but there are others around infrastructure, design, and other components. As part of the process, we did research into the existing zoning and the current land use, noticed a discrepancy between what's zoned and what's there. We also did a deep dive with our colleagues at RKG on a market analysis for the area and worked with TEC to understand the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure, and constraints on development. We also had a strong community engagement process, quite a few meetings with the advisory committee who were very helpful through the process, 4 online surveys with a wide range of participants, 3 workshops or community meetings, got a lot of input and feedback, all of which was extremely helpful. So we've come up with 10 goals based on the input that we received and our analysis of the existing condition. These goals address zoning, possibilities, how vehicles move along the corridor and how other users of the corridor, pedestrians, bicyclists, could work together. We really focused on preserving neighborhood stability and scale while considering new ways of housing, mixed use and industrial uses, and then protection of natural resources. The zoning and land use recommendations fall into this idea of creating specific identifiable areas of the corridor, reinforcing existing low-density residential, increasing flexibility on these neighborhood commercial nodes and the professional quarters, preserving the industrial aspects while recommending adding some requirements that would buffer the industrial from residential or commercial, and then adding in a medium density residential area. Again, all of this predicated on the existing conditions and the input we received. And then from there, talking about creating mandatory development standards that would help to preserve the existing built character, the environmental aspects, while allowing for some commercial, a little sort of low scale mixed use, and the industrial, and then also recommending design guidelines that would be advisory and aspirational, but help the town really establish what they want to see on the corridor in terms of community design and values around that and around the development standards for environmental and the visual aspect of the corridor. So that's a very high level. I know you have a hugely long meeting tonight, but I did want to hit those high points. Again, happy to answer any questions you may have or go into additional depth on some of the components of the report.
Well, thank you very much for that. It was very helpful. I know for myself, it's been a long-standing desire of the community to plan out that corridor, so I think this is a great step in the right direction and will certainly serve as guidance for us as the community continues that endeavor. With that said, coming to the board, any questions for Emily on the presentation or the effort in general? Yes, Tom.
I guess I have a question maybe for Emily or maybe for Jeff. Now that we've got some of these findings and recommendations, what do you think we'll see? What are the next things that we'll see happen in terms of?
So the committee will review the refined draft report, which must be finalized by the end of this month. They'll review it and they will ultimately take that end product. It serves as a guide for what you may want to do, given what you might want to see for the future. So we'll expect that committee will provide a recommendation, or of the recommendations in the report, which one do they think they should move forward on and prioritize. One of the interesting things for the study, the public feedback we got, is that in some ways they didn't want to see a lot of change, but there was a question about what does no change mean? Because under the current zoning, there can already be change, things that can be done either as of right or working with zoning. And so we think that's a question that might need to be clarified. There definitely was some openness to limited development or redevelopment in certain areas, but there was obviously a very strong preference to maintain, particularly in some residential areas now, to maintain that residential character. So I think one of the things the committee might look at is there could be some zoning options that is worth exploring, and the planning board would likely be the board to work through that process. But it would be a very, I think, a little bit different public hearing process. We did gather a lot of email information for people who, as the process rolled along, more and more became aware of it. And so we have a good distribution list that we could actually start if there with that next initiative. So Joe, I don't know if you had anything to add.
I guess the only thing I would add is, on the infrastructure side of things, people wanted to see, potentially some pedestrian improvements, but at the same time, simultaneously addressing any kind of vehicular congestion or any conflicts that there may be out there currently, where people may feel there's a dangerous intersection or something along those lines, or a dangerous crossing. So making sure we're factoring in addressing those while we may make any infrastructure investments in the corridor.
What I would just add to that is, I think that once the report is finalized, sharing it with the Economic Development Committee, with our Affordable Housing Trust, and with our staff who have, our DPW and other staff that have knowledge of the infrastructure in that area, to then develop that future plan moving forward. I think that's important, as well as to what Jeff alluded to related to the planning board.
So I like hearing that clarification, Joe, because that was my question was, you stated that people didn't want to see development, but I believe that there probably was some people who were interested in pedestrian improvements, bicycle, multimodal, improvements. So to add to the list of people to share this document with, or any recommendations, I would advise the pedestrian safety committee, so that can be built into their list of recommendations that they bring forward to the select board. And so I think it's a great effort. Is there any questions online that we have? Any questions from the audience at this point? Yeah, go ahead.
Are we coordinating with the Conservation Commission about this as well? Is there space in there that could potentially be purchased as open space for the town?
Let Jeff answer that.
So I think there was definitely a strong acknowledgement of environmental resource areas. That was actually one of the strong components there. There was a strong desire by the public to explore improving access or creating additional access, but acknowledging that in many cases, it might be privately owned, and so there were some challenges there, but that is one of the things I believe that's outlined in the report to explore, is improving those connections and exploring those opportunities. So this doesn't solve all those problems. It kind of lists, addresses, and makes recommendations, and also offers some potential guidelines for zoning and or, I'll say, infrastructure improvements. So yes and no.
Yes and no. So again, next steps would be this report's going to the Route 40 study group, and then they would further refine or pull recommendations from it and present them to this board.
So essentially, because of the grant restrictions, this report must be finalized and invoiced pretty much, well, end of June-ish. So they have to be done with their work. But the committee is free to, do a deeper dive and, offer some recommendations based on that report, like priorities. So, and then we'll share that information and see if it makes sense to move forward with a different process that's not bound by the grant restrictions.
Okay. Is it the desire of this board to hear some of those recommendations in a further time? Yeah, me too. So that would be great if, I don't know what the charges of that committee off the top of my head, but I assume that they would be amenable if you could reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to do that work and come back to us.
Some of them are here, and I think their committee will be extended until September, I believe. So that'll offer an opportunity to wrap those things up and provide, final recommendations to this board and or other boards.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, thank you very much.
It's a lot of work by our volunteers and some staff and the consultants, of course.
Thank you to the public who participated in all those.
We had a lot of increasing public involvement, and that made it a much better process. So.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any other final questions, comments? Anything from the audience? Okay. All right, Emily, you're free to go. Thank you very much again for the presentation.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our 8 o'clock agenda item, which is a presentation of the draft Linked and Livable Neighborhoods Plan.
We're just promoting Dylan
okay.
Johnson Blinker. Jeff, any preliminary things that you'd like to alert the board before Dylan starts his presentation.
So I don't want to steal any of Dylan's thunder, but he may make reference to other ongoing opportunities that came about as a result of this project. So Dylan can take it away. There's lots going on.
All right, welcome, Dylan.
Little teaser there, Jeff.
Yes.
Good evening, I'm Dylan Sussman from Dodson and Flinker. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Emily showed me just how short the presentation should have been. Mine's a little bit longer, so I guess I apologize for that. I'm just so excited about this plan. It's hard for me to compress it into 3 minutes.
No problem.
All right, so I'm here to talk about, can you all see my screen?
We cannot.
You cannot.
We can see you.
All right. Let me make sure you can see my screen.
Yes, now we can. It's coming up.
Great. Okay, much better. Oh yeah, so thank you again for having me. This project is an outgrowth of the MBTA community zoning, the overlay zoning that the town adopted about 2 years ago. So coming out of that, I think there was a recognition by the planning board and your town's land use and economic development department that there was a need to think about pedestrian and bicycle connectivity through the area that the zoning was part of. So broadly, the Littleton Road area from the town line to Tadmuck on the east. So the goal of the project was to coordinate public investments and new development projects to make sure that all the pedestrian and bicycle connections that are needed could be linked up together, and to identify locations for community spaces and amenities that would be ideal for the transformation of this area from basically an auto-oriented area that was focused on shopping centers and office parks into a live, work, and play district where multifamily housing is really is coming in and can be a great place to live. So the primary deliverables for the project were a plan for bike and pedestrian connections in the study area, a 25% design plan for a pilot site, which through the process of the project was Robbins Road and Littleton Road was identified as the area. Conceptual plans for MICMOD development sites, highlighting high priority pedestrian and bicycle connections, a illustrative plan that ties that together for an area to show how it could be in the future, and then guidance for the planning board for their ongoing review of MICMOD projects. We did some community engagement, so there was a technical advisory committee. Bob Schaefer from the planning board was the chair. Rick Posh was the vice chair. June McMorrow was clerk. I believe those two are new to volunteer committees in Westford, so that was great to have some new faces involved. And then Denise Pigeon is the superintendent of Neshoba Valley Technical High School. We did a lot of property owner interviews and followed up with them throughout the process. We did 5 focus groups, public survey, and a public workshop. I think coming out of all of that input, the key takeaways are that the highest priority for Westford residents seemed to be pedestrian infrastructure in this area, followed kind of equally by bike infrastructure and outdoor communities, outdoor community space, and then trails and nature areas and public transit were below that. So one of the key deliverables is just a simple map looking at regional connections in the area. And what you can see is that there are relatively few sort of connected roads in this area. So Littleton Road is really important east-west connection. Then you have important north-south connections, Carlisle Road and Boston Road, and then Chelmsford Road connecting sort of diagonally through it. And then on the south end, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail runs diagonally through the edge of Westford. And so if you're looking at connecting this area in the long term, making sure that all of those roads, and particularly a connection to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, are as safe and comfortable for pedestrians and cyclists as possible is really, really important. So as I said, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail runs through the corner of the sort of study area. There's an existing rail bed called the Red Line, or the National and Acton Railroad, and it's fairly intact through portions of the study area. So We recommend that the town move forward with that, and in fact, the town has already applied for and received grant funding to do a feasibility study of what we're calling the Neshoba Greenway. So this is a great opportunity to build something that could look like this someday, where you have a wonderful shared use path that's connecting from Littleton Road down to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, providing a regional connection to bike and ped facilities. We mapped out existing strengths and weaknesses of trails and sidewalks and missing crosswalks and all of that throughout the study area. This diagram highlights the important connections to make. Things like adding bridges to trails and linking trails together, improving wayfinding to trails. We found a lot that people weren't aware of the trails that are there, and then sometimes trails are difficult to find. So overall, some of the public feedback we heard was that increasing knowledge of trails might be more important in this area than actually physically creating new trails. I'm going to zoom in on just one part of this. I know there's a lot on this graphic, and please check out the report. So just zooming in on the Robbins Road, Powers Road, and Littleton Road triangle. I think, as Jeff said, I want to highlight some of the things that have kind of happened while this project has been in process, which I think is a testament to how proactive your town staff is and how good they are at writing grants. So, as I said, there's a really important connection to make between Robbins Road and down through the former Red Line, or the Neshoba Greenway, down to Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. So the town has already received grant funding to advance a feasibility study for that. There's an important connection that needed to be made between Bell Westford and Trailside Way, so that you can then connect into Trailside Ways, the trails that are beyond that. And the 37 Powers Road project, through the permitting process, basically is going to make that connection through the addition of shared use path through their property, as well as a new shared use path on Powers Road and a new crosswalk. The town has received funding for design on Powers Road, funding for design to expand your TIP project on Littleton Road, and then the 25% design from this project has advanced design for the north end of Robbins Road. So there's already been some, I guess, results from this project. I'd like to take credit for all of that, but the truth is it's collaboration between us and largely your town staff doing a great job. So looking at that 25% design for Robbins Road, as I said, this is really important because it connects between Littleton Road and then hopefully in the future this shared use path, as well as just providing connections for current and future residents in this area. So there are two potential designs here. They're full. We did a survey, wetland flagging, 25% engineering design, which I'm not showing you. I'm just showing you the simplified illustrative plan. Two potential options here. One, removing a median at the intersection of Robbins Road and Littleton Road, and one, keeping the median. The advantage of removing the median is it would improve fire safety access and would now allow for a sidewalk on the east side of Robbins Road that would connect to Bell Westford directly. So again, looking at this from the air, existing conditions, and then it would look something like this with a 10-foot shared use path connecting to that future TIP project along Littleton Road, proposed sidewalk connecting to paths into Bell Westford, and then ultimately, hopefully, connecting back to a future greenway. On the ground, it looks something like this with existing conditions of kind of very wide travel lanes and grass median with some bushes in it. In the future, could have a shared bicycle and pedestrian facility on one side and sidewalk on the other. And then the next part of this project was looking at the private development side of things. So I've been talking about improvements that the town could make to things like streets and public open spaces through trails. So we also looked at private development with the idea of how do we connect those ideally into the public systems to make sure that this becomes a cohesive whole. The zoning for the area has standards for things like blocks and streets and outdoor amenity spaces. But there's a need to be more specific about where those streets make connections. So we did a series of plans for every one of the MCMOD sites, looking at the most important pedestrian and bike connections on the edges of properties, how to make cohesive networks of movement within sites, where open spaces should ideally be located so that they are tied into those pedestrian bicycle connections and make appealing places to live. And then this is an illustrative plan showing what that could look like in the future, with a couple of different options. So this is showing the area where Nokia and Abbott Medical Group are. We heard from the property owners that it's not likely that this area would be fully redeveloped, but if it was, it could look like this with larger apartments to the north and townhouses to the south. More likely, Nokia stays in place, and you get a development like this if there's some property, combinations of property, and if the applicant built a 4-story garage. And then the last part of this project, as I mentioned, is guidance to the planning board for the review of MCMOD projects, to deal with kind of some of the challenges that that have been experienced with applicants having, I guess, different needs than what the MCMOD calls for. So how to deal with longer buildings, how to deal with a desire for on-street perpendicular parking, and sort of more campus-like designs. So that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. It was excellent. You called out a couple times just how good our town staff is and how proactive they are, and I just want to also echo that sentiment. They are phenomenal, and we are so blessed to have them. And they do get us into this position that you've illustrated, where we have a lot of opportunities now as a result of their forethought and hard work. So hats off to mostly you two gentlemen in this particular case, but to all of our town staff. So thank you for that. Board, any questions for any of the folks here on this topic? Yes, Tom.
This seems like a great set of inputs to the Pedestrian Safety Committee, and I guess, Jeff, just similar question, like how do these building blocks that have come out of this show up in our future planning?
Well, I think in a variety of ways. I think we will, obviously, this report also has to get finalized at the end of this month. And the committee will have to wrap that up too and take care of some administrative things. But I think they also will look to the recommendations of this. There's one item, though, Dylan, that I'm not sure you mentioned, that because of public output and our representative's office, there will be a crosswalk to benefit Neshoba Valley Technical High School. So the MassDOT is actually taking that on. I forget the name of the program, but it will make its way into the TIP because we, I think, pestered them with so many grant asks. They're taking a look at it, and I think the superintendent was very influential in that regard. So kudos to her as well. So and the public comment that made a real difference here. So something will happen. I don't know when, but it's not a question of if, it's a question of when now.
Are we talking about a crosswalk just directly in front of the school?
It's not that simple. That will benefit the school in the most sound technical location that makes sense for safety and
we'll have to make sure sight distances are okay.
It's the reason why we're here, it's been a long-standing ask, and I know that pedestrian safety has looked into it for years, so we'd love to see some headway, because I know it would be really helpful for the kids there to have. But one of the challenges was the sight distance and where you put it, and you just end up putting it back where we have it at South Junction Road, right, which isn't very advantageous for the kids. So
yes.
I think, do you want to make a comment?
I'm the chair of the committee, Bob Schaffer. I just want to get people thinking. Neshoba is a unique school because it is regional. They don't have sufficient facilities for all the students to practice athletics immediately after school. So they come back over the next 3 or 4 hours to use the facilities. So because they have to take buses, what they do is they go down to the shopping district of Westford on Littleton Road. And so that's why this connection is so important, because while most of them get bused to and from school, they don't do that if they're on the athletic teams. They all come down the sidewalk. So it is a really important connection for that school to get a safe crosswalk so they can get to the sidewalk
and get down just to hang out while they wait 3 or 4 hours before they can come back and practice.
Well, great. Thank you for that feedback. It's important. Jeff, anything else?
Yeah, so this does, in addition to, social benefits and, just active recreation, this does have some economic development implications as well, obviously. So we will be bringing this to the Economic Development Committee to find ways to best capitalize on this, so. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other thing I would add is, to Dylan's point, we want this to be an area that people are going to want to live in, and if they're going to be living here, we want it to be someplace where not only are they benefiting from anything on their property, but they can be able to get to Jeff's point, our different retail, restaurant options that we have available already in the corridor, and we want to be able to connect businesses with new foot traffic. So really hoping to tie this all together through projects like Littleton Road widening, like the shared use path on Powers Road, really help it become all interconnected.
Any other questions from the board? Anything online?
I don't see anything online.
Yes, please.
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road, and I'm also a board member for the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail in Westford, along with Chris Barrett. I'm happy, I'm thrilled about the Neshoba Tech sidewalk. I was at some of those public meetings, and I'm really terribly excited that progress is happening at the state level there. And I am a little concerned, not on Robbins Road with a shared use path, but as we look at Littleton Road, in terms of bicycling, I would hope that there could be a protected bike lane. I just got back from Europe. I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed in the United States compared to Europe. But I think protected on that busier road is going to be essential. Thanks.
Right, Jeff, is that part of the Littleton widening plan? Littleton Road widening plan?
It's being examined. It's still only not even at the, is it at even the 25%? So it's something that's being looked at.
It's not at the 25%, what you said, or it is at the 25%?
It's right there now.
The conceptual plans that we saw maybe a couple years ago called for a shared use bike path, along that corridor. So I certainly would be very interested, and I bet a lot of Westford residents would be as well, to see that remain in the plan if we can have it.
Yeah, and I know the work that Dylan's team did, they were basing their connections to what was projected so far in those design plans. So tie into that, but it's only at 25%, so.
We have faith in you guys.
Okay.
You just got a lot of accolades. You gotta keep up a high bar of achievement, so. So I think one of the things that we've heard from our board for both of these projects is we don't want to see these just become, reports that live on a shelf somewhere. So we want to see actionable recommendations, and we want to be able to keep track of those. And I don't know how well we as a community have done with that going forward. So I guess the action that I put in front of town staff is to how do we make sure that we track these recommendations and measure achievement. So whether that's coming back in 6 months to this board or some other boards to just say, hey, we recommended 3 action items. How are we doing? Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, whatever. But I think that allows us to just really keep some of these things forefront of our minds, keep the focus, because this is wonderful work. I think there's a lot of public support to see it get done, and I do know that there's a ton of other things that you all have to do, so it's a juggling act. But I think that will help keep us moving forward in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, Chris, these all nest under some of the pillars of our strategic plan.
That's correct, yeah.
And we have not done a great job updating the board on the strategic initiatives.
So maybe
some
that's a
other
good place
roadblocks, but I think that would be a great area for us
Yeah.
to highlight the progress.
Agreed. We will add that to our agenda. We have to put that back on there, so thank you for that. Anything else? Okay. Dylan, thank you very much for all the hard work. Members of the committee that worked on this as well, thank you. And with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to a joint meeting with the planning board to interview and appoint a candidate to fill the remaining unexpired term of a planning board seat until the May 2027 election. So members of the planning board I see are here. Mr. Chair, do you want to call your board to order?
I'd be happy to. Let's open this special June 23rd edition of Planning Board. All 4 acting members are here. Somebody there. Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Okay, so this is a little interesting. We've got 2 boards that are going to make this recommendation. My understanding, or Chris, why don't you take us through set the expectations for what we're looking to do here?
Absolutely. So
Please.
Planning Board in Westford is an elected board. We had a resignation from the Planning Board and did not have an election to fill that vacancy. So state law allows for a joint meeting between the Select Board and the Planning Board to name a candidate until the May 2027 election. So the Planning Board and the Land Use Department put out a call for interested parties through our volunteer activity form. You have 4 individuals who submitted their volunteer activity form in advance of the meeting this evening. I believe that they are here this evening as well. If you'd like to hear from them, they could give a short synopsis of who they are, why they're interested, and then the vote this evening would be 9 votes total, and a majority would win the seat. So if you voted for one candidate, you place nominations for a candidate and have the vote, and the majority.
Is it all voted simultaneously?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
You're one joint board for the purpose of this election, of this appointment this evening.
Okay, Mr. Chair, would you mind if we have the candidates up just to hear from them?
I think it'd be great. We've got some questions for them as well.
Fantastic. Okay, so why don't we take them in the order that they're on the agenda? So we have Megan O'Connell first. Would you like to speak, Megan?
O'Connell, 44 South Chelmsford Road. I can talk for a minute or just let you people ask questions.
Why don't you just give us a quick synopsis of why you're interested in the planning board position, and then we can ask you some questions.
Sure, absolutely. I think as all of you know, I've been interested in town goings on for a while, a couple of years now. I've been outspoken publicly about things with the select board and the planning board. I follow the planning board often, not necessarily in person, but I always go through the several hundred-page packets to see what's in there, what's going on. But I believe the planning board has a very critical role in not only the development of the town, but the future financial health of the town. And so I think I can help bring that perspective. My background as an engineer in biotech, looking at regulations across the world, trying to make sense of them all, trying to find something that will work across jurisdictions, is a skill that could be helpful in this type of environment, where you're looking at whether it's site plans or proposals for subdivisions, and considering how that's going to impact not just the neighbors but the town as a whole, now and in the future. So that's one of the reasons I submitted for this opportunity.
Okay, I think we'll take questions at this point. Are there any questions from the select board for this candidate? I do have a question for you, Megan.
Sure.
I noticed that you also applied for the zoning board, and you are currently serving as an alternate on the permanent town building committee?
Correct.
Yes, so if you had to choose between the planning board and the zoning board of appeals, which would be your choice?
I think that would be up to these boards to determine if I was a good fit for either one. No, you are correct. I'm an alternate on the permanent town building committee. If I was selected, for this planning board term, I would probably have to resign that alternate seat on the permanent town building committee, especially because the times overlap a lot. But
okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Planning board?
I'll go, Bob. Do you want to start with some questions?
Yeah, I guess I would like to ask a couple questions. One, could you describe kind of your philosophy, priorities for addressing affordable housing with respect to housing projects? And also, could we hear what your position is regarding the role of MICMOD and how we move forward with future MICMOD proposals in the MICMOD overlay district?
Yep. 2 good questions and 2 very different questions. So I'll talk about the affordable housing first. So of course we have the Affordable Housing Trust and the committee that meets regularly on that. We have a lot of state laws that regulate what we can do, that provide guidelines. I believe it's 10% minimum that we need to maintain in the town, which we're a little bit above that, I believe 12%, something like that. When I think about affordable housing, again, a lot of it's dictated by the state. I think, I'd like to see some action on the state level to address, some of the guidelines that they have as far as like 80%, 100%, that type of thing. Because I think, they don't really seem reasonable to a lot of people. Again, kind of outside the purview of the planning board here, but I think, in that position, the planning board can make the public more aware of some of these systemic issues that can be addressed at the state level. That's how I'd answer that. For the MCMOD, I think most of you know where I stand with that. Wasn't a fan of it to begin with. I think, when it was being discussed and before it was voted on at town meeting a few years ago, there are a lot of people that thought that given this huge, relatively huge, in my opinion, MCMOD district, that we would cast a large net, see what we got, then trim things back. And I think there are some people, a fair amount of people in town, that would like to see that pulled back a little bit until we have time to digest the several developments under MCMOD that we have ongoing, integrate those into the community, and then be a little more judicious, more careful about, how we entertain the idea of expanding the district or bringing on new projects. Might not be the answer you want to hear, but that's how I would answer it.
Anything else, Bob?
Oh, I think that's good for now.
Joni?
No, I'm good. Bob, I'm good.
No additional question.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
All right, thank you.
All right, sure. Titus?
Hi, I'm Titus Palmer, 15 Bose Road. I've lived here almost 54 years now. I've volunteered on town boards for about 31 years, currently serve on 2 boards. I was under the impression there wasn't a lot of interest in this short appointment, and I'm always happy to participate, so I put my name in. And although I see there were other people, any of whom I think would do a good job, so.
Okay, great. What are the other boards that you serve on, just so we...
I've been on the Board of Assessors for 31 years and the Board of Water Commissioners for 14 or 15 years now.
Just a little bit of time.
Little bit.
Thank you. Any questions for Titus? Planning board?
I think the same 2 questions. One, could you kind of describe your philosophy approach for affordable housing in these new projects? Given the fact, even though that about 8 years ago we did hit the 10% level. And secondly, what is your position philosophy with respect to MCMOD and its role for future projects here in Westford?
I guess my opinion on affordable housing in general is that, I really don't feel the town should be guiding the market and trying to overly encourage these projects. The sad reality is most of my children, I have 4 children, I don't think any of them will end up living here. Most of the people I knew that grew up in Lexington or Concord don't live there anymore. It's just the nature of success when a town does well and has good school systems that people pay a exorbitant premium to be there. And I just feel that trying to force affordability in, with the exception of, I'll say what I said in the 90s, if the planning board back then had been serious about affordable housing, they would have created a 1/4 acre overlay district, restricted the house sizes, and that would have helped hold back the cost of those housing units because they could only be so big. But that, the horse is out of the barn, and there isn't enough space left to do that, and the land is too valuable now. As far as the other question, I kind of would mirror Megan's comments that, I would not be eager to encourage more until we see what's already been approved fits in, because I think it's going to have a huge impact. Not only are we taking away commercial tax base that gave more in taxes than it took in services. It's just, we're creating a much bigger burden with every one of those units we put in, especially when they replace commercial industrial, which is already shrinking because the housing has become so lucrative. And I would use the example along Route 40 where pieces that are zoned industrial, where, people have converted them to residential or over time, or up on Ledge Road. So I guess that would be my answer.
Jody?
No, my questions were already answered.
Yep. Darren?
Yeah, thanks for volunteering.
Yeah.
I guess the question, are you still active on the Board of Assessors?
Yes. Yeah.
So would you see any kind of conflict if you were on the planning board in that role?
I really don't. I mean, we have office staff that determines the value. Our biggest role, in addition to certifying the tax rate that the selectmen said, is we hear abatements in the springtime of the year. And our real goal in the assessing department is just to be the arbiter of fairness. A lot of people are not happy with what they're paying, but we're trying to make sure that everybody is equally unhappy. Because they're paying an equal share. So.
Great. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have Thomas. Good evening.
How you doing? My name's Tom Femelis. I live on Blacksmith Drive, directly off of Route 40 near Fletcher's Quarry. I'm not on any boards. I've been retired for 2 years, and just to give you a little background for myself, I have been a developer, built houses up at the golf course, up in Dracut, up in Meadow Creek, done commercial projects in town, big strip malls, and I'm retired. I've got time. I don't do any business in Westford. I have no intent of doing anything that I'd be in any kind of conflict with any of the boards or any builders coming in, because I don't really know a lot of the people. But I have the time now. I've got the knowledge. I know site plans, and I think I could come up and running quickly for the board. And that's it. That's all I've got. Short.
Thank you. Any questions from the select board? All right, planning board's back over to you.
Same two questions. Don't ask me that again. I'm going to regurgitate. So I'm going to be very honest. I don't have a lot of the knowledge of that right now. I'd have to research it. I don't know. I'm not going to make up a story just to please the board for this or regurgitate other things that they said, because the gentlemen, and they seem to have, and women have knowledge of this. So I do my homework. That's the thing. I'm not going to try to bluff my way through something. So.
Appreciate that.
Good?
Joni?
I just have one question.
Sure.
In your activity form,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you understand local town bylaws and regulations as well as addressing concerns of neighboring residents. Do you have that specifically for Westford, or are you talking about for other towns?
Well, I haven't. The only thing I did in Westford is 30 years ago, I put a small subdivision where I live. I've been there for over 50 years. My wife's family's been here for about 100 years. But so the bylaws that I'm familiar with right now may be out in Dracut. It's not right here, but it's not that difficult for me to learn this stuff. It's just it's easy. It's easy enough for me. So.
Thank you.
If that answered anything.
Darren?
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I believe we have Ming with us this evening.
I'm Ming Zhang from 15 Patriot Lane. Where should I start? So I was motivated by the town staff and friends for applying for this position, and I was driven by passion blended with experience. So the experience extends to the property management. I've done that for many years, working with the HOA board members. to help accomplish their short-term goals and long-term capital projects, have helped them manage the vendor negotiations and management, legal, insurance, and all aspects of HOA. So in addition, I have interfaced with many households to directly hear their concerns and know their needs and wants, which I think really help shape the grounded solutions that I have. So that's one aspect. The second is that I was privileged to have served on the Route 40 committee, which to me is cousin to planning board. It's a window into the planning board. I learned a lot from that process, how we engage the community, how to listen, to actively listen, and to research, and to finally follow up. So that's the second part. And the third part, I can't remember this moment. So the third part is that I've been civically involved. I've served on multiple boards. So in addition to Rule 40, I am serving on the 300 anniversary committee, WestfordCAT board member as well. I've been attending the planning board meetings and write articles for for the newsletter, for the engage, the community engagement. So if appointed, I will continue with that effort, to reach out to the community to make sure that we're doing the liaison work, and I will help personally with the liaison work between planning board and select board and other related boards, and also between the planning board and community. Thank you.
Any questions from the select board for me? I do have a comment. I do get the Westford Villager, and I really enjoy hearing your write-ups. I don't often get a chance to watch the planning board meetings, but I want to stay involved as possible, and I find that your write-ups are very succinct, full of information, and very, very helpful. So I commend you to putting in those volunteer hours to sit through. They have obviously very difficult and long meetings, and then to get that into a digestible format for everybody is huge to keeping the public informed about the important work that the planning board does. So thank you for that.
Your comment will be on the next newsletter.
Thank you. If there's no comments from select board, we'll turn over to the planning board.
So before I get to the first two comments, let's talk about the engagement liaison work, because I guess I have a concern here, how you could continue to do that. It's fine to discuss it for matters that are no longer in hearing, but I think part of your discussions out there are on ongoing important matters, and it's very important that somebody like you present that to the community. But as a sitting member of an open public hearing, would you see that that would be a conflict of interest?
That's actually a very good point. That's a very good point. I'll think about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And,
Yep.
we've been asking other candidates about their positions.
I just want to say that in a broader sense, though, every board member is obligated to help reach out to the community. So, I may not continue to write the articles per se, but in a broader sense, I will help engage the community along with every fellow board member.
Yeah, I'm mentioning open hearings. That's where there's a sensitivity.
Thank you.
So, and a related question, you are currently a candidate for state senator, correct?
That's correct.
what would happen in the event you won the election in November? Are we going to be back here again to appoint somebody else?
So first of all, yeah, so you're more positive than me.
Just asking.
Because my goal really is to raise the local concerns, the local issues to the state. And affordability, for example, is one of the areas I've been focusing on. But if miracle happens, that I did win, then definitely some arrangement has to be made. I agree.
Okay, and now let's get to the common two questions, discussing your position on the importance of affordability, how it gets addressed for new housing projects in Westford, as well as your position philosophy regarding MICMOD and future MICMOD potential developments in the current district.
So, yeah, thanks for the question. So affordability, I'm a key proponent of affordability. I would, comply with the state regulations, MBTA zoning policies. In the meantime, I want to also take a look at the local level if it's feasible. So, so for affordability, years ago, I recall that Joni, or at least the first time I heard was from Joni on affordability, the tiered model on affordability by age and by income, and I really like that. And that's basically the framework that have been driving me for not just affordability, but other areas as well. But when it comes to the affordability itself, I think we need to commit to the policies and the push from the state, first of all, and also take a look at the local level to make sure that we have the necessary infrastructure support. So that has to be a balance.
Okay. And
so mid-mod, I'm kind of wait and see in that mode, just like the other two at this point, because I don't want to misspeak. But in general, I think any policies from the state, I want to make sure that we balance that with what's feasible in the local, not just for Westford, but across the other towns and cities as well.
Okay, great. Joni?
No, nothing else additional, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's the list of candidates. So at this point, I think we're looking for a recommendation for our candidate.
I'm sorry, Mr.
A nomination.
This is a question from the audience.
Are you taking questions from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Mr. Chair, is that okay with you if we have some comments from the audience, or do you want to?
Your meeting, if that is fine with me.
Well, go ahead. If you have a comment, please, we'll take it. Thank you.
Diane Wood, 122 Depot. It's a general comment for all our candidates. I'm absolutely thrilled for one of the few times in a long time we've got multiple candidates, right, volunteering and interested in a position. However, I would like to see more people engaged, having more people who have not served in a term or have multiple experiences on committees in town to spread the wealth. And I think that's one of the only comments I wanted to make. We've got a number of people who are on this committee, that committee, have volunteered here, that are candidates. Why don't we let the new guys get in and spread that dedication and that interest for other people in the future also. So, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I would add, I'm not sure we discussed it yet, but this present term, we're just filling out till next May. It happens that this is the last year of a 5-year term for this particular, so we would only have one position for planning board on next year's ballot, and it would be this particular term position.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, anybody from online didn't ask about that either, so online we're good. Anybody else from the audience? All right, so we're looking, do you have a question
Well,
or a
I'm
comment?
wondering, may I ask a question to the planning board?
I don't see any reason why not.
I was wondering if the planning board had identified any particular areas you were looking to round out your board with, like if you had, you felt like you had coverage and, this sort of expertise, that sort of expertise. Is there an area you had identified as?
I don't know that we actually have identified, we're looking for, planning board takes a lot of, our packets, I don't know if you've ever seen one, and I'm sure yours are huge as well, but it takes most of my Sunday to get through it. And we're looking for people that are going to make sure that they're prepared coming in to make the meetings as efficient as possible. We generally have 2 staff members that are at our meetings, and meetings just like yours can run really late. So I think that is my priority. I don't want to speak for the whole board.
Yeah, no, and I certainly, on Mondays, my tradition is to be calling Jeff and Joe, but also people like Paul Starrett and other important people in town that might have provided us technical details that I had questions about when I did my Sunday review like Mike. The other thing I would add is that all of us on the planning board also have other positions on other key committees like the CPC, the interface to NIMCOG, et cetera. And so not any special skill set we're looking for, but we are looking for somebody who's going to come in, assist with the meetings, as well as covering these other positions on committees that we interface with as the planning board.
Thank you.
Yes, is there a follow-up here?
I have one other question of whether, if Jeff is able to ask any questions, because of his role in the close proximity to the planning board, and if that should be.
So we're talking this Jeff here?
Yes, that's right.
Does Jeff have a question, I guess?
I am confident that myself and my staff is fully capable of working with any of these candidates. So the role is really for these 2 boards, in my opinion, to make their pick, and we will do our very best to work with whoever you decide.
Is that good, Elizabeth?
Yes, it is, thank you.
Well,
I would like to nominate Bing Zhang for the seat, the planning board seat, until the May 2027 election.
okay, we have a nomination. Do we need a second for that?
Second.
We have a second. So I guess I'll call for the vote. Do we need a roll call?
Everyone's in person, so you do not need a roll call.
Okay. The 2 boards are comfortable.
Do we have any other?
Just a question, so procedural question.
Yeah, please.
So, are you proposing that, I mean, ordinarily you think you would take nominations, and so we'd know all the people that were nominated?
Yeah.
If that's the will of the board, that's fine by me. I don't know if we want to just vote on this one, and then if it doesn't go through, we ask for another candidate or another
I
nomination.
didn't want to know them all, and I think, Kristen, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think we only get 1 vote each, right? When the vote
comes up, you only get 1 vote.
And so what you'd end up doing is dropping people with the fewest votes and re-voting until someone had a majority, or is it just a simple, whoever gets the most votes?
Simple majority vote.
It doesn't have to be a majority, it's just whoever gets the most.
It has to be a majority.
It has to be a majority, because it's possible if you have enough nominations, that no one would get a majority.
Right, so we have 9 members voting, we need 5 votes for.
Okay, so if in the first round of voting, there's enough people nominated that nobody gets 5, the lowest would be dropped and then we'd re-vote?
I don't think so. That's why I would think we would just vote on 1 nomination. If that person doesn't move forward, then we would ask for another nomination.
Might I just suggest that we see if there's any other nominations for candidates, and then depending on how many names are suggested, then we can address it after that.
Very good, I like that.
Yeah.
Is there any other nominations? We have 1 nomination so far.
Shelley, would you want to nominate? Anyone want to nominate another candidate? We're going through.
I'm going to nominate Tom Tamelis.
Okay.
I'm going to nominate Titus Palmer.
Oh boy, that would really make it difficult. Okay?
Only if there's a second.
How about a second?
Is there a second for that, for Titus?
Did we need a second?
Yes.
Okay, so did we, I don't think I heard a second for Ming. Oh, you were the second
Yeah,
for Ming.
so there was a-
Okay, so we've got a second for Ming, we have a second for Titus, and a second for Tom.
I didn't hear us.
See, Tom, I don't know, is there a second for Titus?
You seconded
I
it,
think
Tom.
it's,
Oh, okay.
So we have 3 nominations.
I don't, did we get a second for?
Not for Titus.
Titus did not get a
Just wait to
second.
finish my statement. We
Okay,
have
sorry.
3 nominations, but only 2 seconds, so we only are voting on 2 nominations. Okay? Right, and those 2
So there wasn't a
are
second.
Ming Zhang and, is that Titus?
Thomas.
Thomas, thank you.
Yep.
Do
Okay,
we want to have any discussion, or are we just going to vote?
I'm fine with discussion. Is there any, before we ask for the vote? I think, are we clear on the mechanics? I think there was some discussion on the mechanics and how this would work. So does everybody feel fairly
Yeah.
clear on how we're going to do this?
So you're either gonna vote on Ming or you're gonna vote on Tom, since there's only 2 candidates.
That is
Exactly.
correct.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Still waiting on discussion. Any
So-
questions? Yeah.
I've had a lot of interface with Ming since we were candidates for the same office a little more than a year ago. My concern right now is he's running for state senator, and I do not want to see us repeat this again come November. I think it's important that we get people in here and at least commit so we can make it to next May. Even then, I think all of us can attest to the fact it takes us more than a year to really be comfortable in processing the material and making the decisions and understanding the roles, responsibilities of a planning board member. And it's not only the planning board, we also have to put people out there on these other committees. And that, we don't want to suffer another break. And for me, what I did appreciate from Tom was the candor when I asked him, and he said, I'm willing to learn. I don't know about that right now. I think that goes a long way to what we all have to do, because we process a lot of technical information. And I know, I didn't know much about stormwater management and calculations, but I've learned a lot from Paul Starrett and the others who have informed us. And I think that's a very important skill to have on the planning board. That's all I'll say.
I think that, if I may, Tom, I agree. Certainly, I know from my journey here with Select Board, you certainly have that time that it takes to get ramped up. And a year is probably an accurate assessment for this board as well. However, I will say, at least in the favor of Ming, seems like he's been doing that groundwork, right? By attending your meetings and writing those excellent articles. It sounds to me, out of the 4 candidates, he's the one that's actually got the most background information at this point about what you all have been doing and how things have been progressing. So I do think that, you know, the state senator campaign is concerned. I would hate to see him move forward and then leave in a few months because he got that position. So maybe it's up to him to decide, you know, I'm going to move away from conducting that campaign. But I understand your concern there. I think, Tom, you had a...
I was just going to say that, so I understand the point. I'm always hesitant to count against somebody if they're ambitious and they're looking to serve in lots of different ways. Lots of us are serving in lots of ways, have big other commitments, and still have made a commitment to this. So just for me and my own calculus, I wouldn't hold it against somebody who has an ambitious, view to be of service in lots of different ways. So.
I will say that, experience-wise, it seems to me that that Thomas has had the experience as, being a developer and working in other towns and reviewing and learning bylaws. I think that's pointed toward his direction.
And reviewing the site plan.
I think that's a nice head start too, having that comfortableness with the site plan, going through that process as a developer yourself and available.
Any other discussion?
And I have to agree, having that background really will help bring him up to speed much quicker.
Specifically the... past experience with reviewing site plans.
That's why I asked the question about bylaws, because, having that understanding what it takes will help bring
If you-
them up to speed much.
If you've ever seen one of our packets, it's kind of 50-50 between site plans, blueprints, and looking at those, and then we have technical memos and technical reports. And we're kind of marrying up the two and then putting our questions together. For me, I'm greatly guided by those reports that come from town staff, Paul Surratt, Jeff, or somebody with the Board of Health. And then I have to look at that and marry it up with the actual site plan, and then know what questions, in addition, I have to ask of the proponents team when they appear before the board. So that site plan is a critical part.
I think that's a great thing to bring up. I just from your own experience, since you all do such great work on the planning board, did each of you have experience with site plan review prior to your engagement on the planning board?
I had some.
You had a little bit, yeah?
I had not site plans, but reading blueprints and those kind of prints. But I also had the advantage at a time where we had a number of planning boards, planning committees, the master plan committee, the Route 110. And so I was able to get 2 years of intensive training, writing bylaws and reviewing those kind of details. We unfortunately just don't have a good training ground right now for members other than the Route 40 and the Route 110 committees that are ongoing. And those unfortunately only have minimal interaction with our citizens.
And my background was entirely, my whole career was civil engineering from PE and planning and site plan and development, so helped a lot, made it very easy.
Very good. Thank you for that feedback. Any other discussion? Okay. So I don't know how we can just, I guess we could cast the vote for each individual nominee. I don't even, or we'll just go around and
You can just
say.
ask each individual.
We'll just go by, okay, why don't we do it that way then?
Survivor.
I guess we'll toss it over to you guys for the first round, if that's all right. Why don't you go ahead and, I can call it, or it's up to you, Mr. Chair. if you
You
wanna
can
call
keep
it.
going. Yep, you're doing fine.
Okay. Then, Darren? You need to call, you need to say who you're gonna vote for.
Okay, I would say, Mr. Themlis.
Mike?
Tom Themlis.
Tom Demis.
All right. Elizabeth, we're on to you.
I like both, but I'm gonna go with Thomas Demis as well.
Tom Demis.
Ming Zhang.
Ming Zhang.
Ming Zhang for me. But it sounds like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Tom, so I will be the new planning board member. Thank you all for your participation this evening, and thank you, planning board, if you want to adjourn.
Yes, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just need to instruct Tom that he needs to go to the clerk in the morning and get sworn
We'll
in.
prepare an appointment letter and have him sworn in, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Give them a moment to clear the room, and then we'll move on to our old new business.
Agenda.
Yep, okay, so we're gonna move on to our next agenda item, which is our old new business. The first item is our annual board and committee appointments. The first item under that is the request to appoint Ryan Welpley as the alternate member to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term ending June 30th, 2030. Do you have anything to add to that?
Just these items are annual appointments. We took care of the majority of the annual appointments at your last meeting. The zoning board provided a recommendation for the zoning board of appeals alternate member. So I believe Ryan is in the audience, if you'd like to.
I think So the other thing on that particular memo, wasn't there another candidate there that was mentioned, Cataldo?
He was already appointed.
So he's all clear, okay. Why don't we go ahead and then hear from Ryan, if you don't mind, sir? Please go ahead to the mic.
Ryan Mobley, 68 Providence Road. I moved to Westford about 2 years ago. I'm a corporate attorney. I've been practicing for about 7 years out of a law firm in Waltham. My interest in zoning and environmental law dates back to law school, where I took classes in zoning and environmental law and did an internship with Environmental Department of Conservation in New York State. And in my undergraduate at Union College, I also was an intern for the city clerk's office at the city of Schenectady. So I have some background in local government, and that's where my interest comes from, in zoning and local government. I'm excited to be an alternate member.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for Ryan? Yes?
Ryan, could you just summarize your philosophy on environmental law? I feel like some people feel like it's too restrictive, looking to break through it, others looking to protect. Can you just explain it in some way?
Yeah, I think that leans into kind of my corporate background as an attorney too. So I primarily represent startups through the formation, funding, and exit events. So I'm practical in that sense, representing nimble companies, regulate through process through like a regulatory environment. And so I try to be a practical approach, but I'll stay compliant as well. So I try to be flexible to the rules and understanding from a business perspective, but also trying to follow the kind of letter of the law too as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, any questions from the public?
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. I would like to delay this appointment because it's my understanding that the process was not followed to contact all the people whose VAF included zoning board. I know one candidate or one person whose form was submitted a while ago was neither reached by email or phone. So I don't think the process was followed, and I don't think there's anybody here from the ZBA to talk to that, but I think that's a problem.
Jeff or Joe, could you please address that?
So to the best of my knowledge, we did reach out to all the persons who submitted VAFs on several occasions. So I don't know if you can share the name or not, but there were several that we reached out to that did not show twice. There are others that did show and were interviewed by the board. And the board did make recommendations on multiple candidates. So I don't know which individual you're speaking of.
Well, there was one on the correspondence list who was not contacted. I spoke to that person at 5 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
And that was specifically for the alternate position, because I believe
It was an application for ZBA.
Right, but so they had 2 positions at one point in the near future past. So somebody was appointed to that role, and then there was the alternate position that they had to go back and try to fill. So could there have been some confusion with?
In 2025, this person filled out a VAF for ZBA and was not contacted either by email or phone.
Okay.
Up until 5 o'clock today.
For neither a ZBA meeting or this meeting tonight?
For anything related to ZBA.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Emily, if you were able to have that person contact my office, I'd like to understand that a little bit better because we're not made aware of that situation.
I'll be happy to have them contact you and Chris. I think that, and maybe the chair of the ZBA, although I know that you've worked hard to get the protocol that everybody gets contacted. So everything that's on file should have that information. So that's why I was very surprised today about that.
Well, it's very important that it's been brought to our attention, and we appreciate you for doing that. So we'll have to discuss what next steps should be. Thank you.
And Jeff, please remind the members of the select board, I believe there's also 1 additional alternate seat available because there's 3 seats total. Mr. Cataldo was named.
I don't believe at this time. I think at this time, this is David Earl, who is not renewing.
Sure.
It's to fill that vacancy. And so when the zoning board, they actually I mean, to the best of my knowledge, the list that we were provided for volunteer activity forms, we did make an honest effort on multiple occasions to reach out to all those individuals. They were invited across multiple zoning board meetings. Some of them attended to be interviewed and some just never showed, and some of them did back out. But they interviewed the ones that did attend, and they provided a recommendation. One was in advance of this meeting, so they kind of wrote one memo for both the immediate fill as well as when June 30th came around. And so I don't believe the board was looking to conduct additional interviews, or if they've reached out 2 or 3 times, you know, took that as a sign if they didn't attend. Now, I don't know.
So there's 3 alternate seats on the ZBA.
Yes.
In total. Mr. Earl's seat is up the end of June, so this is what
Correct.
we're looking to fill tonight.
Correct.
Mr. Cataldo filled one of those seats.
Yes.
And is the last seat still vacant?
No, that's filled by Andrew Spanish.
Andrew Spanish, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
So Jeff, when you said they reached out, who was taking responsibility for reaching out to these candidates? The
So-
chair of the ZBA or town staff or?
No, so we reached out when we were provided the list of folks who had submitted VAFs for the prior 2 years. We reached out via email or phone call or both, if unsuccessful, and invited them to attend an upcoming meeting of the zoning board of appeals. So to the best of my knowledge, we did reach out to everyone that was on the list that I received. I can't say obviously if the list was complete, but I do believe, you know, good faith effort was made to review that. So I would like to know, you know, who that was, but to the best of my ability, we did make that good faith effort to reach out on multiple occasions.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Tom?
Is there any reason that, is there any urgency with doing this tonight if we were to choose to investigate this a little bit and bring it back? There's no immediate thing that requires a quorum or?
I'll leave that up to Jeff. He knows the agendas better than I do.
I mean, so from a practical standpoint, given that we have 2 alternates already, I don't think we're in a crisis mode. The board hadn't filled that 3rd alternate position ever until recently. So I don't know how I can make a case that, you know, there's a crisis, but, you know, I also want to be mindful that people did come out, they did go through that, you know, process, that multiple meetings, they did get the recommendation. So I guess I would just defer to whatever this board wants to do. I believe the zoning board at this point, they think they have no further action because they've reacted to all the VAFs that they've received at least. So it's a different question if maybe they did not receive all the VAFs through some honest mistake, so.
Yes, Tom?
Yeah, I'm assuming good faith, and I'm very grateful for Ryan for being here, and I think everyone, I'm sure, acted diligently on whatever list they had. But I do feel like if there's been if someone's raised their hand and said, you know, I wasn't welcomed into the process and I did fill out a form, I think it's probably worth us figuring out. Was there some sort of like paperwork mistake? Was there did something get deleted accidentally? Like I'm looking for some kind of simple mistake here as being the likely cause, but it would seem a shame to not follow the process if we have someone who's identified, has said that they believe there's been an error.
So I think I agree with you, Tom. I would like to see this come back at another agenda item. Emily, could you have this person that you talked to reach out to Jeff, see if we can solve this problem, and then depending on how that conversation goes, I would say if there was a communication issue, could you speak with the ZBA chair and see how they would like to proceed with trying to rectify that?
Sure, happy to do that.
Okay, I think that would be the best. Yes.
I guess my question we're talking a lot about this person without them being here. I was like, do we even know if they still have an interest? It sounds like they applied in 2025, right?
I don't know.
We're halfway through 26, so,
well,
yeah.
But I will have reach out to Jeff and you and Chris.
Perfect.
Maybe I'll take that back. That's interesting. So we don't know if they have interest, but you spoke to them.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess I'm one vote. I guess that's my concern.
Yeah.
We did have it seems like a fully qualified candidate who's here with the support of the ZBA, albeit there may have been a Scribner's error in how this was followed. So I don't know. I guess I'm inclined, unless we know that this individual is interested in the position, to just vote on it tonight, but that's my position.
Yeah, I guess I assumed that this person was interested, hence the commentary from the public, but maybe that's a bad assumption.
Right. But to Tom's point, I mean, if it's not gonna cause a lot of consternation with the ZBA, then maybe just hold it off, so. I see both sides, but, I mean, we do have a candidate here who's spent, what, 2.5 hours waiting to get to this. So,
Yes. I hear you.
yeah.
Well, ultimately, it's our choice. So, you've heard from 3 of us. Does anybody want to make a motion in support of this candidate for the alternate seat? Do they want to hold off and have this investigation and bring it back to our next meeting? Elizabeth.
I would like to ask, I believe that we are trying to bring more people into the roles, that we want our process to be trustworthy, and I would like to ask, Ryan, would you come back if we delay? Would you come back again if we delayed this discussion?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay. So it sounds like the consensus, at least 3 of us are leaning towards a delay. Sean, is that okay if we?
Sure, you got the votes, yeah. Three's a.
Okay, well, I think Noelle was already signaling she was, okay, so we'll, Jeff, thank you for doing that, and.
Sure. If you could just provide me that, I'll take care of it.
Okay, appreciate that. And, okay, anything else on that particular item? Let's move on to the next one, which is to a request to reappoint town planner Joseph Inowitz as an alternate to Jeffrey Morrison, Assistant Town Manager, Land Use and Economic Development, to the Economic Development Committee with a term set to expire June 30th, 2029.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for being willing to serve in that capacity. We have a request to approve an amendment to the development agreement for 37 Powers Road. Jeff, Joe, do you want to take us through that?
I'll start, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So we did put a couple of memos in your packet. One was slightly more detailed to the planning board, and then a briefer one to you folks. The planning board at their most recent meeting did vote unanimously to agree to this changed version, this amended version. If you're not aware, and for those at home, there was an original development agreement for Tech Park West. Basically what it stated is that the town would receive certain monies based upon the amount of square footage of development that was constructed. So for each square foot, they would get a certain amount of money, and that in theory was used to offset some of the impacts from the development. It was intended primarily for either transportation, access, things like that, things that could be directly connected to that development. So Tech Park had 3 separate phases. The first phase got developed initially. The second phase is what you now know as Bell Apartments, the 240 units. The agreement got amended once in 2018 to essentially allow for the change of office space to residential space. The town still got its full dollar amount. It just reconciled the type of development because it was originally premeditated as an office park. Move forward, right now, 37 Powers Road is what would be the 3rd phase of that Tech Park development. This also, the town still gets its full share of the money based upon the square footage, and it's not just for the residential apartment buildings, it's for the wastewater treatment facilities, for the clubhouse, it's for garages, it's for all the square footage that is developed, but with one very important distinction. Under the prior development agreements, the town would receive their monies upon issuance of a certificate of occupancy. So essentially when the project was done. In this case, in, I'll say, good faith negotiations with the applicant, they were willing and amenable to provide half of those monies with the issuance of a building permit and the remaining half at the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. So we feel that this is very much in the town's best interest. It increases our buying power. There are things that we can certainly do in the here and now rather than waiting it's essentially, we receive half the money is about 2 years sooner. as we mentioned, for the other large projects, it's usually about 2 years from issuance of the building permit to get occupancy for these. So we think this is a win-win for the town, and we respectfully would come back to the board if you agree with this, with some ideas for your thoughtful consideration on how to perhaps allocate some of those monies. So if you have any questions, we're happy to try to answer them for you.
Thank you very much for that summary. Appreciate the memos. Any questions from the board? Okay. Anything from the public? Anybody here? Okay. So Jeff, what are you looking for specifically this evening? I think your memo had a...
So we are looking for this board to execute the amended development agreement. It's really that simple. We have the forms already signed by the planning board, and just as a caveat, it is a little tricky. It's chicken and egg. Our town council would essentially hold, if this board takes action, the partially executed agreement in escrow until such time. That is a necessary step before the developer can create their entity and follow through and then sign the agreement. So if this board votes and signs, it will not be released until all the steps are ready. So we don't have to worry about the last entity is yet to be created. But they need this to move forward for their armies of attorneys and investors. So.
Who all reviewed the agreement and signed off on it.
Oh yeah, town council, many councils have reviewed this, including our town council.
So do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay. We're on to a request to approve a 3-year agreement with the Westford Housing Authority for affordable housing consultant services. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if you're not aware, the town since 2008, I believe, has engaged with Westford Housing Authority to provide affordable housing consultant services. And I think when the Affordable Housing Trust was in here recently to provide an update, and your chair is still here, you asked what do they need. One of the things that they need is continuation of these services. So this doesn't really change the nature of the agreement. It merely extends it for a 3-year period. It provides, as in prior iterations, a 2% increase per year. And I will say that without their good efforts, we would simply not be able to keep up with all of the things relative to affordable housing in town, whether it's monitoring or adding units to our SHI, all the questions that they receive. And I will remind you that since this all began, the number of units that we're talking about has tripled. So, because Westford's done a good job. Keep hearing about the 10% subsidized housing inventory. We're slightly over 12%, I believe. But that involves a lot of work and forever work, year-round work. So it's very important that we have this resource because we don't have the time, training, or necessary things to carry those out. So without an agreement like this, things would fall through the cracks.
And Jeff, we do have this budgeted for fiscal year 27.
Yep, it's in the regular budget. So it's not, it's really a continuation of what has already been in place. And the Housing Authority has already voted their approval of this. It is, their partially executed version is over there.
What is,
please.
what does that cost us, and who does the consulting services?
So the Westford Housing Authority does the services.
Okay.
So in 2020, fiscal 2027, it's $43,249. Fiscal 28, $44,114, and fiscal 29, $44,996.
Got it. Thank you.
Like a bargain. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience or online? Joey?
Yes, I would just like to get up and say, Joni Croto, I am the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. I would just like to say that it's a bargain, that the Housing Authority does a lot for us and to help us, especially with our additional rental assistance programs, WRAP, Westford Rental Assistance, and the WRAP program. So I would highly encourage and appreciate if you would vote to accept this.
Thank you for the comments, appreciate it. Okay. Is there a motion in support of this ask?
So moved.
We got a motion, who's the second? Second from Elizabeth. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right. We're on to request to authorize the town manager to sign an amended agreement with NEMCOG for an for updating the housing production plan with the detailed housing needs study. This is up to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you may be feeling a sense of deja vu. You may feel like you've already previously approved updating the housing production plan. But if you go back, you may recall that CPA monies, town meeting voted CPA monies at the request of the Affordable Housing Trust to conduct a more detailed housing needs study specifically for Westford. So what we thought made the most sense and to get the very best housing production plan possible was to combine those efforts because there would be some overlap. This improves efficiency and will honestly get the most detailed and probably best housing production plan that we think Westford really needs right now based upon all the recent changes, what is coming down the pipe. And so what this simply does is it improves the scope, adds the detailed housing needs, and we have the trust agreeing that it makes sense to take the CPA monies that may be used to augment this. So financially, from your end, really doesn't change anything. It's just amending the contract to be consistent with this added scope of work.
And your point is that the town meeting already approved this, essentially?
Yes, the CPA monies, yes.
Okay. Any questions on this ask? Is there a motion in support? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I didn't ask the audience. Anybody on the line? Nope. Okay, great. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And remand proposed zoning bylaw amendments to the planning board. Is there any detail on this?
Our town planner can.
Yeah, you want to take us through it?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is largely a procedural vote for you all, so the planning board can start their public hearing process. So we're essentially going to be looking to break this down to likely 2 different articles at special town meeting. Both are a response to the Clean Energy Act in 2024 from the state, more state regulation changes that we're responding to, this time in relation to battery energy storage systems and ground-mounted solar systems. So that's how we're going to break it up. So we'll look to have something, we'll work with NEMCOG on this, as they're more familiar with all the state processes and the comprehensive permit process that'll be generated for this coming out of the regulations. That'll essentially go live on October 1st to create a bylaw on the books so we can try to mitigate any negative impacts from battery energy storage systems. And this would largely relate to things that are not so small that it's affecting a single family home, and also not so large that the state's just going to regulate it themselves, but things in the middle of that. And the state kind of regulated or said what those size systems are. And same thing with ground-mounted solar energy generation systems, of what constitutes a small, medium, and large scale. Right now we have large scale under our zoning bylaw now, but we want to formalize having small, medium that lines up with the benchmarks of what the state considers large, small, medium. So that's what we're looking to do, to start those public hearing processes at the end of July with the planning board. So we're just looking for you to take this procedural vote to allow them to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you for that summary. Appreciate it. Any questions for Joe on these 2 items?
I guess I have.
Yes, go ahead, Elizabeth, please.
If I'm recalling correctly in the packet, I believe it made it clear that on the batteries piece, there's probably not an awful lot of wiggle room there. Is that correct?
There's a number of regulations that anybody looking to do the battery energy storage system would have to follow anyway. They're going to have to meet NFPA regulations, Drinking Water Act, Wetlands Protection Act. So there's a number of state regulations they're going to have to meet already.
Yes.
But we could also be limited in then what we can require over and above that. So that's why I wanted to work with NEMCOG to figure out what can we do in terms of mitigating any kind of additional negative impacts that may result in terms of any noise or any setbacks that would be, I guess, good guidelines to follow for adjacent uses, particularly residential uses. So we want to be able to make sure we're addressing that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Is there any questions from the audience? Anybody online? Okay. I think we're looking for a motion in support of this request. Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. And we're on to execution of regulatory documents for 70 Boston Road. Jeff, is this you again?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, again, you may have a sense of deja vu. You went through a very similar process for the 5 units previously. This is now for the 2 habitat units. So you're not wrong. It is familiar. It is very complicated, very convoluted, but it's the same thing. It's basically so that those 2 units can count on our subsidized housing inventory. It's doing all the legal stuff so that that can actually happen.
Any questions on this request? I assume this has been reviewed by town council and all the relevant parties.
And regardless of their review, the state gets what the state wants, but council has reviewed this to form and they are, satisfied.
Satisfied, thank you. Any questions from the public? Anybody online? No? Okay. Is there a motion in support of this request?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Stay with us, Sean, you can do it. All right, we're on. Jeff, you're off the hook for this one. Discuss progress on Page to Throw. We have Mike Edwards to hopefully provide a brief update. Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate your efforts tonight.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible, but happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. So obviously, everybody knows that we have finished our rollout of the carts. We delivered just under 8,000 around town over the course of about 8 full days. We do have a decent inventory left over, so we'll be able to maintain those carts and hopefully use that to supplement a future look at additional carts or subscription-based services down the road. It overall was a very smooth rollout, all things considered. We did learn a lot about our assessor database and some of our unit counts on houses, but we've made a lot of corrections along the way. Actually probably added a little bit to our new growth by finding some ADUs and some other properties that we weren't aware of. But what that has done for us is really give us a good framework for updating the policy in the future in terms of what houses are eligible, et cetera. So we are going to be starting either later this week or early next week with some cleanup work orders to get some additional carts that were delivered, recovered, and also to replace some carts that need to get replaced or added out in houses throughout town. Expect that to be completed pretty much 100% by middle of next week. Bags are on the shelf right now. We've had at least 2 rounds of orders go through. So last number I had is we've got a little over a week and a half worth of inventory, and we still have a week and a half before we launch. So we're expecting to be in pretty good shape when July 6th hits. Obviously, there's been a little bit of a run on the stores, but so far nobody's run out that we're aware of. So that is moving relatively quick. I am meeting with the vendor on Thursday to go over inventory, to go over hopefully our first payments on those bags to see some revenue coming in for next year. We still have the 7 retailers that we've had listed for the last week. So that is moving. Really haven't heard any issues in terms of the bags on the shelf at this point. Did meet earlier this week with folks at the Cameron, with Jennifer and Allison Christopher on the hardship program that we've talked about, that coming out in the next week or so. Still working through some of those details. We do have a final launch meeting with E.L. Harvey tomorrow morning to talk through materials for their drivers so they understand how to collect, what to enforce, new stickers that we'll be rolling out to advise people of the any non-compliance issues that we have on actual collection days, as well as material for their call center personnel, so they'll have good guides to go answer questions, etc. Communications-wise, we've got another round of social media going out this week, and then a schedule all the way up until launch, as well as follow-ups. That'll be both social media stuff, news flashes, working with WestfordCAT, who's been great, as well as you've seen our road signs just transition to now it's starting, so as opposed to cart deliveries. And then we'll have some flyers and some other information going out. And the website will be flipping over to the pure pay-as-you-throw stuff from kind of both sites that we have of our current system and the pay-as-you-throw in the next week. As far as stuff that we're working on over the next several weeks is one thing we are kind of excited to let people know. We did get a commitment from Bootstrap, who is doing a lot of the composting around town, to install a food waste bin subscription-based service at Abbott. So that is something that we've talked with the Recycling Commission about. So we'll see how that goes. We're really viewing it as a pilot, but it would be a drop-off food waste bin at that location by where we have the textile bins right now. We do have at least one other textile bin going at the water department, and we're talking with them about adding several more throughout town to hopefully help people a little bit find some alternatives to dispose of things. Last thing, like I mentioned, the policy update, we are probably going to delay that quite a bit because we do need to really go back and dig through that list of eligible and exempted condos and multifamily properties. We found a number of the discrepancies we had during the CART rollout were actually based on that list being inaccurate. So we're going to go back and figure out exactly, just folks are actually going to be tasked with pulling all the land use decisions around those to see eligibility for trash services. And then we've got our contract amendment sometime in the next 2 meetings, and it'll just be a minor amendment to address the payments for the bags to the LRB. So try to keep it quick. Anybody have any questions or anything?
And just before Mike wraps up, I just want to thank Mike and Marie Fulford, who's providing part-time support in our office. They've been fielding a lot of calls in the past 2 weeks. A lot of the calls are just, I got my bin, what do I do now? Or some clarifying questions. They've both been doing an excellent job responding to those questions, and I think helping a lot of residents. So just wanted to call you both out for your thanks.
Yeah, that seems great, yeah.
And we were able to fill the operations analyst position. That person is starting next week. Once all of the medical clearance is done, I will be able to announce the name publicly, but I just want to keep that person's name private for their purposes. But we're excited about the candidate and think that they'll be off to a running start next week to help.
Great news. Any questions, comments from the board? Yes,
Just a comment that last Thursday was trash day in my neck of the woods, and as I drove through my neighborhood up Depot, it just was a pleasant surprise to see how many houses were using just their new bin, and that's it. You know, it hadn't officially started, but for a stretch, it was at least 1 in 2 houses. I was kind of going. So anyway, that was just something unexpected. I didn't expect to see them out already, and there they were, all by their lonesome.
Everybody likes their shiny new carts. So.
Any other comments? Yeah, I did also note the same, that people are already using them in my neighborhood as well, which is very cool to see. And I appreciate the effort that you made to make it very clear where the bags are, method of payments, because you know, I think the easiest we can make that for people the best. So that's great. That's on our website under Pay As You Throw, so it should be easy for people to find. Okay, that was our update on that. And then we have our discuss when to receive an update on the FY26 goals and discuss goal setting for FY28.
I know it's late.
Yeah.
I think, so I would like to present the fiscal 26 goals and the progress on that in late July or early August so that you all have that. We did have a retreat last year where we also set fiscal 27 goals. I know Elizabeth wasn't with us at that point in time, so I would like to set a time in the late summer, early fall to have another retreat if you would all like to do that, to talk about the goals, to talk about where we are with the strategic plan and any other matters that you'd like to have. So we don't have to make any decisions tonight, but wanted to put that out to the full board.
Are you seeing that as a separate retreat meeting? Yes. Or just an hour before a regular?
A separate meeting. I think it deserves focus of a separate meeting.
Are you going to get Nan's sandwiches again?
Wherever you'd like. We have a new bagel place. We have Nan's. We have other places.
It's in the budget.
Noelle's bringing cookies though, so.
All right, cookies. Okay, so you're thinking, so maybe late July?
No, late July for an update on the 26 goals, which can occur at a regular meeting.
All right.
But to have a retreat or a workshop late August, early September potentially. And I know we have some tri-board meetings and other things, so it may be a
Right, that's what I was
scheduling
thinking, and-
matter. So we do not need to decide tonight, just wanted to put it out there, food for thought. I can follow up with all of you individually as well.
Yeah, I would suggest that. Okay.
No, because vacations and stuff,
Right.
it's difficult
Yep.
to coordinate,
Right,
right?
the
Yeah, I'm
brain
sure we're
isn't
all
working
taking
very
time
well
off.
at this point. Okay, very good. I think that's great. Okay, any other comments on that? Thank you. All right, we're on to board reports and updates. Are there any board reports and updates for this evening?
I'm sorry, I'll just.
No, go right ahead,
The,
please. That's why we have
Tax
it.
relief
Yeah.
working group has had 2 meetings so far, and we are
Oh, great.
just really investing in establishing our solid understanding of how things work and establishing what towns are our market basket, and it's off to a really good start.
Are you using the same market basket that we've been talking about this evening, or are you?
We are looking at 3 groups to make sure we're being comprehensive. So we have the one in the budget task force, we have the ones the school use, and there's a third one that I can't rattle off the top of my head. Is there another?
That we use for compensation.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, wow. All right. Well, thank you very much for that update. Appreciate it. Any other updates? Okay. We have minutes for approval. This is our May 26, 2026 minutes. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at that. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
support? Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, I guess we'll call for the vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. And we're on to the town manager's report. Kristen.
So first up is I am planning to take a bit of time off in July, so I would like to ask the select board to appoint Assistant Town Manager Mike Edwards as acting town manager from July 4th to July 14th, and to appoint Assistant Town Manager Jeffrey Morissette as the acting town manager from July 15th to July 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sean got that one by a hair. All right. Don't see we have any questions, comments from anybody on the board or the audience. Looks like they're, so we'll take the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
The next is grants and donations. So traditionally, the select board accepts a grant allocation from the Lowell Regional Transit Authority. This year for 26-27 is in the amount of $118,895 requested by the Council on Aging. And Jennifer, thank you for sitting through this if you were sitting through this for this matter.
Thank you, Jennifer. Do you have any thing you want to add or?
No.
Okay, very good. Do you want to take these one by one or just go through all the grants, donations, and then go on to purchase orders?
Probably take them one by one for the grants, and then we'll go through purchase orders and contracts.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next.
So as you heard in open forum in a previous recent meeting, we received a Mass DOT construction grant for the North Main Street over Reed Brook culvert program in the amount of $894,750 as requested by the engineering division. This acceptance would allow us to sign the documentation and send that back to Mass DOT to receive the allocation.
That's great news. Okay, any questions?
Motion to accept?
All right.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then the final is accept a donation from the Friends of Forge Pond to manage invasive milfoil growth in Forge Pond in the amount of $25,760.
Any questions on this one? Any comments from the audience? Anything online? I guess the only thing I have for this is, just based off of what we had for NAB, how are we managing notification of this type of remediation?
Yep, I'm working closely with the conservation agent and the Conservation Commission on that, and we are going through the processes related to the NAB matter. I have an email from the conservation agent from today, and I'll be following up on that.
But we've got a plan for tackling this one.
We're moving forward.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Matt Salem has his hand up.
Oh, fantastic.
As a conservation agent, if
Yeah.
Mike, you want to promote him?
Kristen, while that's happening, when would this treatment occur?
Matt is the best person to answer
Got
that
it,
question.
okay. So-
Matt, you there? Yes, thank you. Thank you for promoting me, Mr. Chair. To answer the question, no treatment date has been finalized, but in conversations with the Friends of Forge Pond, They're aware about making sure all interested parties around the lake and also both Forge Pond and Freedom Park as their town-owned properties are sufficiently posted and notified in advance so that all users of the water body are advised of the use restrictions on the date of treatment and following.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I assume that would also incorporate the boat launch over, I can't remember, on the other side of the pond.
Yes, as well. I always forget about the boat launch there, but yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for being online and answering the questions.
So is there a vote?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to add something.
No.
Yes. Do we have a motion in support of this? We have a second.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes unanimously. We're on to purchase orders.
All right. So due to the amount of purchase orders and contracts and due to the time in the evening, I do generally read these all out loud. I'm wondering if you would allow me to not read them out loud, and if you have any questions. We did make 3 adjustments to the agenda this morning. The Esri contract dollar amount was increased. We added 1 PO for our CAMA assessor software, and we added 1 contract for the police details associated with the Mass DOT bridge inspection, construction, and maintenance project.
Well, why don't we just, we'll take a motion for the purchase orders and then we'll do a motion for contracts.
Yep, and if there's any
And then we just won't.
holds on them, happy
Yeah.
to take any questions.
So we'll give the board a few seconds. Does any, well, I guess probably people have already reviewed this. Is there any questions on any of the items under purchase orders?
Nope.
Is there a motion in support of these purchase order requests?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And now we're on to contracts. So we have the same thing, rather than reading through them, we're going to ask if you just take a quick gander, if you haven't already. If you have any questions, raise your hand.
Just real quick,
Yeah.
Kristen, are we not using a medical bill, an ambulance billing entity currently?
Yes, we are. It was a 3-year contract, so
Okay.
we're up for renewal.
Okay, and it's the same entity, Coastal Medical?
That's
Same company.
Got it. Thank you. All right, no further questions.
I did have a question on that. So my understanding is, our ambulance enterprise fund, we have to subsidize every year because we are having difficulty collecting our bills. So is this company going to do a better job of that? Because it sounds like, from the chief's memo, that they do a good job.
They
but
do an
it
excellent job.
seems like we still have
We
this
really don't
huge-
have the internal staff to do the billing processes, and Chief has talked in previous meetings and will likely be presenting in his fiscal '28 budget to have an EMS coordinator on board to help work with the billing company. So we believe that the billing
The problem
company,
is that we aren't billing, it's not the fact that we're not.
we are not
collecting.
processing things fast enough because of our staffing capacity.
Okay.
So the billing provider needs to receive information from us as to like who to bill,
Yeah.
who was involved, stuff like that. And
We're
that's
eventually
not
getting it to them, but not in a timely
Yeah.
fashion. So we don't have the capacity right now, and we're
Okay.
looking to fill that in the future.
Good to know. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Any other questions on the contracts? All right, looking for a motion and support.
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all the contracts were approved. Motion to waive reading of correspondence. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.